that don't have like a system around them, that don't have like a group of supporters, and instead they're doing it on a very like personal, self-fulfilling level. Like serial killers, things like that. Those I think are even weirder.
Aren't like serial killers almost universally abused?
Uh yeah, for a lot of them. But does that
Yeah.
mean like we accept their actions? Does that mean like it's wrong for people to see some of
Yeah,
those
we could just
actions?
wait 2 minutes and then we could discuss
Yeah.
it like where
Well,
people can
we,
hear.
we're
That's all
going.
we have to
Well,
do.
I'm already streaming, so what
Yeah.
we're gonna do though. I just want to make it. We're not gonna be arguing about whether or not their actions are right or wrong, or
Mhm.
justified or not justified. Right? I just want to make that.
Yeah, that
Oh,
sounds
Lactoid,
good. That
don't
sounds
worry.
like friendly.
I have another thing. I'm just holding that in the back pocket.
Keeping it ready for when needs must, right?
I'm not gonna be
Exactly.
like saying that like Jeffrey Dahmer was a good like has done good things. I just want to make that clear, right? Or that anything he's
Jeffrey
done is
Dahmer.
good.
Jeffrey
So if your
Dahmer is
argument's
like
relying
No,
on that,
definitely not.
Jeffrey Dahmer is the lightest of these people.
Damn.
So
Okay.
literally every time I start up the virtual camera, Discord always does a blip.
Discord's gonna Discord, gang.
Thank you, honey.
But yeah, you guys have all been on my show before. Elder
Mhm.
Drowsy, do you have a camera for us today?
I'm working on it. Tuna did some stuff to my OBS, and I'm just trying to get to my
Okay.
old scenes.
Nice.
Tuna was over yesterday.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I got a picture of
Amazing.
him cuddling my dog while he
Aw.
passed
Aw.
out.
How cute.
How sweet.
Okay, you
Yeah.
can't say that and not show us the picture though.
I will.
True.
Give me
Yeah.
1 second to get my camera working. You know what you do to my camera?
Thank you, guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
sorry.
You eat some Cheerios. Okay.
He made mac and cheese with beans.
Oh, fair enough.
Mm.
Seems strange.
Chili mac. Here we go. Chili mac.
Ah,
Okay. Well, you guys have all been on my show before. Stabby's gonna be a little late. We'll get her when she gets here.
Mhm.
But as you know, I'll say it in my chat, introduce the topic, and then we'll just get into it.
Yeah.
Appreciate all of you. You are all wonderful, and I thank you for being here. But with that, let's begin. Start the stream to YouTube as well. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV, a cross ideological space where we come together to talk about issues political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And today we have an interesting kind of cultural topic to discuss. Um, Let me give you a little bit of background on why I decided to talk about this before I introduce the topic itself. President Sunday made a tweet detailing how he watched his dad die of cancer, pass on from having stage 4 cancer of some sort, and how horrific it was, and how trying it was, and how much of a problem it was for him. Then he mentioned if Andrew Tate had cancer, it would be a gleeful experience. It would be something he would celebrate. And yeah, that made me feel a certain kind of way. So I reached out to some people to kind of get people's opinions on this, to think what is the morality of celebrating when bad things happen to bad people. I've gathered a team together to talk about it. We have one more coming, but she's running late. Stabby will be here. But I just wanted to give all these wonderful individuals a small, concise introduction to kind of give their opening thoughts, and then we'll just kind of get into it. We're going to start with Ice Beans. Go ahead.
Hey, so I'm actually probably the worst one that you could have started with because
Beautiful.
I'm the one who is kind of in the middle here where I can 100% see how, making fun of somebody for experiencing something, like some misfortune, I can see how that wouldn't make you the most moral of people, right? But I also don't see, especially if you can't demonstrate the harm in it, like what the big deal is. Like why do we care if somebody is making fun of somebody, no matter what has happened to them or uh, you know what their actions were. So
Oh, well,
I'm
thank you.
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm open to having my mind changed on this. But I'm also very curious to see what the actual positions are because, as far as I can see, like mine is a sort of central take.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. First up, or next up, I should say, we have FK. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Um, I'm here, and I'm very pro pissing on the grave of people who probably deserved it. And by deserved it, I mean that they've taken actions throughout their life, whether it's deterministic or not, that have angered enough people around them, uh, to the point that it makes sense that as a society we would react to a threat uh, in that manner, right? We'd be very happy when that threat is gone. I'll go deeper into it the more we talk, but that's kind of how I'm going to get into this.
Okay, excellent. We'll see where we go with this. Next up, we have Lactoid. Please.
Hi, I'm Lactoid from Lactoid TV. I'm going to take the exact opposite position of FK here. I'm not going to be saying that people don't do bad things, but when we approach these people that are doing bad things, or even if it requires some level of punishment, we should be approaching these with stoic resolve, not hate. I think encouraging hatred, vindictiveness, and revenge is both tacky and juvenile. It's useless and it demonstrates bad character. Hate the sin, not the sinner.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Next up, Miss Millie.
Yeah, hey. I'm going to sit here and say that I don't think we should celebrate any bad that comes towards a person. But I do think it's okay to celebrate the good that may come out of it. So, a passing of someone, or, if it causes something to have justification towards another person, um, I think that's okay. So we should celebrate the good that comes out of the situation, not the negative itself.
Excellent. Well, we'll see where we go with it. Last but certainly not least, Elder Drazi. What do you think?
Hey, I think that celebrating when bad things happen to bad people isn't just bad for you. I do think it's bad for the individual doing it, but I also think that it's bad for society at large. I think that if you, it sort of implies that you know who's deserving of punishment, and I don't think that's good to enforce that on yourself. And I don't think it's good to put hatred out into the world because you're still hurting other people that aren't just the person that's quote unquote bad here.
I guess we'll explore it. So like I said, we have one more coming, but she's running late. We'll get her in when the time comes. But with that, the discussion's open. Um, I guess for those of you who, this is an interesting question from my chat to kind of start us off. For those of you who are taking the position that it's probably not okay to publicly celebrate these things. Do you make any difference between private individuals doing this in their own, like, not publicizing it, but just maybe throwing a little party for themselves without drawing too much attention to it? Is that still net moral negative, or what do we think here?
Yes, though I think it's worse if you publicize it. If it becomes a public endeavor that you're out there promoting, it makes it even worse. If you're keeping it within your private life, I can't control what you do in your own house, in your own bedroom, whatever you do in your private life. That's your own business. That's not for me to come here and sit and say. But the moment that you have it a public endeavor, that's when it becomes an issue. That's when your morality is showing, and you're kind of showing your ass as well. You're showing how much of an imbecile at that point, and I don't think that should be done.
Is that kind of the consensus on that side?
Yeah, I agree. It's like if you do anything that indicates some kind of like per- pernicious behavior or kind of like pernicious state of mind. If you publicize it, you're just basically just self-reporting. Like, hey, this is how I think, and the thought process is the problem. You should be approaching humans not by celebrating their suffering, but by trying to minimize their suffering, and realizing, okay, they've done something awful, and we might need to respond in like an awful way if we have to, but it's not something we should be happy about, right? When a dog bites a kid, we don't celebrate euthanizing the dog. That'd be ridiculous. We say, okay, we have to put down the dog, and it's a sad situation all around, and we're going to feel sad about it.
Yeah.
No,
Again,
we
it's
don't always do
celebrating
that though.
the good that comes out of things. It's not celebrating the negative. Celebrate the good that comes from it. That's okay. There's a
Well, that
difference between the two.
that good that comes out of it, right? Even with the dog, right? If you're a kid that's been bitten by a dog multiple times and that dog is constantly in your environment, throughout that period where that dog's in your environment, you're going to have this heightened sense of like just anxiety, right? A fear, a like tension that something bad could happen because you have a threat in your environment, right? When that
Yeah.
dog is out of your environment, you're going to get a relief, right? Your brain's going to hit you with that dopamine. You're going to feel really, really good that that dog is no longer there to bite you. You're going to like, how that might be expressed would be happiness, right? There's going to be a
Yeah,
sense of like
and that's
relief and
fine.
happiness that you're
That's
no longer
celebrating
in
the
a threat.
removal of the threat. That's not celebrating anything negative that comes onto the dog. Because say the
Right.
dog ends up going to the pound and gets put down, there are many other things that could have happened to help that dog in a sense, or to prevent that, say with training or
Right, but if
whatnot.
like a dog
But
got
you
hit
wouldn't
by the
celebrate.
car,
You wouldn't.
I'd posit that if like if you had a if your neighbor's dog, you know, constantly attacked you when you went outside, attacked your guests and shit, and then you found out that the dog got hit by like a truck, I kind of find it hard to believe that no one here would feel like that, like some kind of perverse like pleasure, like, oh yeah, you know,
like fuck yeah.
I'm sad that a dog had to die, but also that
Exactly,
was a
but that's the
shit
thing.
dog.
You might even have
That's the
people who
thing.
are like,
You're not celebrating the death. You're not celebrating the negative. You're celebrating the positive that comes out of it, which is the removal of the dog attacking
wait,
you
But it
constantly.
you are, but
doesn't it
yeah,
still
you
come out as celebrating the dog's death though?
yeah, you are celebrating the
Mm-mm.
positive that the dog is gone, but in that same process, right? It's not like you're separating the fact that that dog got hit by a car, right? It's not like you're moving that completely away. It's not like you're like, I'm sad that the dog is dead, but thank God the dog is gone. You're just like,
Yeah,
I'm
there's a
really happy
complete
that dog is
separation
No,
gone.
between that.
No,
I'll
no.
explain why there's a
You might even have
separation.
some people, you might even have some people, and I'm going to be honest, I know a lot of people who would be like, motherfucker, I wish I hit that dog if that dog was like doing doing a lot of things that were like hurting their family, hurting like their dog, hurting them.
Ice beans. You said the word perverse, which I think is particularly apt here. I think it is. I think I'm not denying that people would feel a kind of perverse pleasure, but I think it's something that should probably be discouraged. Um, I think the separation is clear if we remove the concept of, or I guess we could leave the concept of death, but like we could add more onto it. So, let's say you had two options in front of you, right? You could put the dog down, or you could torture the dog for 48 hours and then put the dog down. Okay. I think that if you need to put the dog down, the person who tortures the dog for 48 hours, like gains pleasure knowing the dog is suffering, that's a psychopath, right? That's somebody who
Hmm.
we got to be deeply afraid of. Person A who's just like, I don't want the dog to suffer, but we got to get rid of this threat, right? They're not deriving pleasure from the suffering of the bad dog. They're deriving
Hmm.
pleasure of the relief of not having to worry about getting bit.
But even if the dog got
Yeah,
cancer and was like bedridden, the person would still be happy, right? They're like, thank God that dog is no longer a fucking problem in
No
my life.
longer a
And
problem.
you're
Yeah,
saying no
even if it
longer
got
a problem
cancer,
because
no,
it's the
even if it got
removal
cancer and the
of the
dog was
threat. You're
suffering.
happy that the removal of the threat is gone.
Yeah,
That's what
even
you're
if it's
happy
suffering,
So
you're
about.
let's bring
happy
it
But
that
out.
you're
it's
Hey,
like,
let's bring it out of this hypothetical thing. Let's talk about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate has
oh
been
my god.
removed from society. He is in prison. His threat is gone. So
Hmm.
to celebrate after he's in prison, after his threat has been removed, to celebrate him getting cancer, right? There is, by your definition, perverse is the word. Is it not?
I mean,
Yes, it is.
I think, okay, look, I'll admit that, like, you know, in a sense, I'll admit that it is perverse and that it is like essentially it's kind of a play on the whole like just world, you know, fallacy where people think that like the things that happen to people in their lives are, you know, somehow deserved, right? um like I think that it is like a sort of fallacy, I guess. Like what the, you know, what's the harm of like actually feeling that way? But you know, that's to answer the question though, I don't know, like I feel like he would you say that Andrew Tate's like harm has been stopped just because he's in prison? I feel like he still influences quite a bunch of people,
His
right?
influence is
I
still
feel like
carrying. Yeah.
I feel like Andrew Tate is weird because like he hasn't been convicted yet. If he got convicted, I
Hmm.
feel like people would be more justified in actually feeling that happiness over this because like I mean, if he gets convicted, right, he's a rapist, he's a sex trafficker, he's done like XYZ horrible thing. in our society, he's pretty much just been abusing people, right? If you have like the way I think about it is like if Andrew Tate's gone, there's like one less person that puts my like little sister at risk. There's one less person that puts like somebody else I know at risk, right? I don't like it's not even just Andrew Tate. Like I was doing research, right? There's Paul Bernardo, who like this dude would yeah, his story is when he was younger, he was abused by his family, right? What that ended up is like throughout his high school, he started like beating women. That was his like way of interacting with women. He beat a woman eventually called what was it? Kyla or Carla, and she enjoyed it. So what they end up doing is they abused their little sister, right? They would drug her to the point where she couldn't have any memories. They would constantly abuse her. They ended up drugging her too much one time. She died. Carla put on her sister's clothes, pretended to be her. They ended up going through like that whole encounter. I don't know, bro. Like, and then they did this to multiple other women, like high school girls. At some point, if that person disappears in a society, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, I'm just happy they're gone. I'm gonna be like, I hope whatever took them out, I hope that they're like suffering even past this, because this is a person who is like constantly shown to us that they are willing to like keep hurting the people around them. If they take the steps to try and rehabilitate, if they actually show us they want to change, that's a different thing. But that's on them to show it like at some point.
If so, two things. Just a general question to you, and then I want to answer Wick's question. Would you be okay with torture then? Because it's just you said you
Yeah,
want that you want them to
we
suffer.
are.
Yeah, okay.
We've accepted torture. We've accepted it as a moral good for a lot of religions. We accept that there might be like an eternal damnation for some people, and it seems like a lot of people on the planet that go like, yeah, there's some people who deserve that.
No, I'm saying like right now, like should we change the justice system to like if we convict you of what this guy did, we should like sit you in a chair and just start like peeling off your skin.
Yeah,
with a pair of pliers.
if we have people like Paul, Paul isn't even the worst. Who's where is he? Samuel Little, you can look him up on YouTube. He has like he's
You
confirmed.
can
he
give me a
says he's killed
million
93
examples
victims,
of a
right?
dog biting somebody. I'm just
No,
asking
it's
like
not even just this isn't just a dog biting somebody. This is a human who is constantly shown that
I
their
get
like
it.
their personal like benefits are above everyone
Yes,
else's, right?
should they be
Pedro
tortured?
Lopez.
Oh, like
Yeah, someone
directly
like Pedro
tortured with
Lopez.
the only goal of
Actually,
making them
yes.
suffer.
Yes, because someone like Pedro Lopez, right, who is killed, he says it's over 300. They've been able to prove 110 people so far, right? In Colombia, specifically, he kills and rapes young women, little girls, and he's out there. He was freed in like 2002, and now he's wanted again. He was freed because we said, yeah, like he did all this. We have evidence that he did this, but like there's like some mental issues there. I think he had like schizophrenia, right? I get it. We could say that, you know what, like it's really wrong, but is it bad for somebody who like has been a victim of his, or like out of the over 300 people possibly who are victims, to like see him being tortured and go like, you know what, out of everything he's done to like all these people around him, I feel happy about that.
No,
I know this threat will not only never like be out there hurting again, but I know that they're getting like some type of just desserts, because as
Yeah.
humans we
All right.
kind of want that.
Well, let's. I understand as humans we want a lot of things, right? Human emotion is highly pernicious and should be controlled. In fact, the lack of control is what led these people to do these awful things in the first place. When it comes to Andrew Tate, let's not lie to ourselves. The reason why for the tweet that Wick read out, and the reason why people are happy about him getting cancer or potentially having cancer, is because of his political beliefs and because of the things that he advocates for. That's why, right? They would have advocated for his suffering prior to his arrest. They want him to suffer because of his political beliefs. FK, if that's the case, right? If you think that's justified to advocate for somebody to suffer based on their political beliefs, I'm curious on how far you take that. So if you have somebody who, let's say, has political beliefs that are impotent, that they can't enact them, or if you have people whose political beliefs led to something else down the road, because if that's the case, then you would definitely want to be torturing Karl Marx, right?
Yeah, I don't think people suffer based on their political beliefs. Those are like beliefs. I think what happens is if you have like some political beliefs that are very extremist, and then you commit actions that we can we can view these actions, we can see it how they harm people around you, and these actions are constantly committed with no regard to the people around you. I think at that point, yeah, you've kind of given up that sense of like we should treat you equally amongst everyone else with some sense of respect, because you've shown us you don't have that for anyone else.
Also, hold on. It's not it. I don't think people are just getting on Andrew Tate for his political beliefs. Like, I think it is like the rape and like
Trafficking.
kidnapping and
He hasn't been
trafficking.
found
Like I think
guilty.
it's a
Well, allegedly.
but okay, but like
And
you,
the evidence
do you
isn't as
think
strong as you think.
okay? So
I
do
say
you
allegedly,
think
but I think he did. But still, allegedly.
know.
It's still
Oh.
allegedly.
Okay,
Well,
I just want to
allegedly.
let's just assume for the purposes of the discussion that he is guilty. Okay, I don't want to litigate no,
Sure.
just for the purposes of exploring the topic. We don't have to use Andrew Tate. We could use Rush Limbaugh. We could use any other. We could use Queen Elizabeth when she died. There were plenty of people celebrating in the streets, right? That
Ginsburg.
she had passed away. There there's so many examples we can use where people a bad thing has happened to someone they consider bad. They think that it's okay to celebrate it. And again, I want to talk about the morality of that. Is it something we should care about? Is it something we should do? Is it something that does hurt society? What are the actual harms here, as Ice Beams brought up? And I want to talk about that. But yeah, anyway,
The
just
biggest
wanted
issue
to
comes in
circuit the
when
litigation of a court case. That's all.
yeah, the biggest issue is when it becomes such a public endeavor to go about celebrating negativity that happens towards another person. Um, uh, for example, with the whole Andrew Tate, many people celebrating, oh my God, he got cancer. Yeah, f that guy. Like he fucking deserved it. Like that. That's just showing your own ass to the public. It does no good, and if it doesn't promote anything within the conversation, why go about it doing this? If you need to celebrate anything happening negative to someone, why can't you do it in your own public or private place, not public? Do it in your own private home and do your celebration. Why does it need to become a public endeavor that you need to share with everyone else? I don't understand this. Why celebrate in all this negativity? It only brings this whole atmosphere down. I don't understand.
I think it was I'm sorry, I don't know everybody's name here on the upper right hand corner of the panel here. You said that religion accepts it. Even religions that have like hell and people that get tortured forever, this is not celebrated. It's a tragedy whenever somebody goes to hell.
Yep.
It is a
Mhm.
great tragedy. Like the Bible says that God is sad when you lose somebody to go to hell. And whenever a sinner becomes a Christian, i.e., gonna go to heaven, it is celebrated more than when a good person does a good deed. So I think that using religion
I
is
feel like
bad to begin with,
My-
but if you're going to, you
I
need to
feel like
acknowledge that this is not celebrated at all.
My point of
Elder, I
using
know
religion.
some I
Not
know
even.
some I know some Christians who like are pretty gleeful at the thought of
Yeah.
people going to hell though. Like
Also,
You know
my
some
point
people
of
that call
using
themselves
religion-
Christians.
My point of using
I
religion
mean, you
is
can't
Christian.
know
like,
True Scots on this
my
though.
point of
Like
using religion is because, like, in my opinion, we made it up, right? We made up this system of morals that we kind of like created a large subset of stories to like help these morals get to us. And part of that was this idea that, like, as a lot of humans have wanted, like, if you're not going to suffer in this life for the bad things you do, you will suffer in like another eternal life. It's this idea that this thing that humans have created, we for some reason, and I think that reason is very biological in us. I think it's the same reason we feel empathy. It's because like it's really good for societies to have empathy because it helps us like work alongside one another, helps us build out bigger things than like one individual person can. But alongside that empathy comes a sense of like we can extend it to if somebody is hurting other people within our society, we want to kick them out. We don't want them to continue to be allowed to hurt these people.
Right, but what you're saying is a rejection of empathy, right? We agree
no,
that
no.
I'll
I'm
explain
saying-
why it is.
no.
Because if somebody
I-
is hurting somebody, we need to stop them. We all agree we want the pain to stop, okay? But like you're not empathizing with
No,
the
we're
with the
empathizing
person.
with the victims.
Let
We're
let
not- we don't
let
care about the
Lactoid get
person.
his thought out. Let
So-
Lactoid, then you can respond. So
Right,
Lactoid,
right.
get your thought out concisely, please, and
Yes,
then you
I'm
can respond.
empathizing with the victim because I want the pain to them to stop, right? We want you to stop the bad thing from happening.
No, not
But-
just the pain.
So if you're saying I'm not empathizing with the victim because I don't want to fulfill their anti-empathy, which is revenge and wanting to torture the other person, and what you're okay with, like literally physically torturing somebody.
Yeah.
I actually think this is the ultimate empathy because instilling in their mind that torture is a valid catharsis leads to bad outcomes, right? We don't
No, I
want
think
people
this
gaining catharsis from bringing pain to other people. It's not a good thing to encourage.
This idea that all people are good creates really bad outcomes. This idea that somebody like the toolbox killer is a person who can be like a good person, leads to really bad outcomes. People all
I
have
don't think we're saying that all people could be good
people have
though.
people have capacity to do good things, right? There's people who tend to use that capacity more often than others, right? They keep doing more and more good things. However, somebody like the Toolbox Killer, right, David Parker, if you've never heard of him, I'm telling you right now, you can go on YouTube, you can listen to the tape that he used to play to women that he captured. This is a tape that he would play to, like, again, I'm saying women, these are high school, like, young girls. He would capture them, he would hold them for like 1 to 3 months at a time, 1 to 2 girls at a time, and him and his wife would abuse them in horrible manners. Then he would drug them, and there was like a 50-50 shot that he would either kill them and like toss their body out, or he would like drug them, leave them on the side of the road, and they'd basically go back with like no memory because of like the drugs that he was using. Bro, like, these people are people that, like, yeah, I guess there's a hypothetical that like somebody like him could go out of his way and he could do some like really good things. But guess what? Like, for those victims, we do have empathy. He doesn't get that empathy anymore. He is no longer somebody who's shown that he like is deserving of like some human connection. We
Is
have
he
empathy
not
for
a
those
human
victims.
anymore?
No, we have empathy for those victims, and we take their pain and we enforce that onto the people that he's hurt. He's a human in the sense that he's like a biological human, but he's not a human in the sense of like he has that empathy, that type of caring that we have with one another.
So
So,
which
just
people
to
should
be
be
clear,
tortured? I just want to add, like, what's the
I
hierarchy?
want to be clear too. So, FK, you would say in the case of that person, when we have passed that line, that there is some line or threshold a person can cross that makes it okay to do literally anything to them.
Anything in the sense of if the victims wanted that person tortured,
Yes, the
I'd be fine
victim
with
said,
it.
"Hey, I
Yeah.
want this guy. I was raped for 10 years.
Yeah.
I want this guy to be raped for 10 years too."
Yeah. If the victim wants that, I'm okay with it. Because like the way I see it is that person doesn't
Does
have
everyone
any rights
on this
anymore.
team agree with it? Do you agree
I
with
don't
that, Ice
like I don't
Beans?
care. That
I'm
person's
just
giving up
curious.
what they have.
Do you think, Ice Beans, do you think if a victim wants the person who raped them for 10 years to be raped for 10 years, do you think that's something we should encourage and allow?
No, but only because that I don't like I kind of look at it as the what's like best for society in terms of like I mean I think rehabilitation, if it's possible, that's the route we should be taking first, right? Like not retribution. But you know, I kind of see this as like a like almost like a deviation though, because like why do we care about like the why are we caring so much about what happens to somebody after they're caught or whatever convicted? Like I feel like that's almost like, because this doesn't really concern those cases only those cases. This is just when something bad happens to someone, right? I don't know.
Who does the raping? Now we have another person committing these horrible
my thing
atrocities
is-
who needs justice.
I should
Like, does it
clarify.
have to be somebody who
have
knew the
another-
victim?
we
If
have
they
No,
knew
it'll
the
be a
victim, can they
job.
rape the guy?
It's a
Executioners.
hypothetical, but if
It's
if
basically
that's what- yeah.
executioners, you know, someone to swing the hammer down is what they're looking for.
Yeah,
It's like
Then that creates a
DOJ
whole nother
rapists. Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
No, I mean like the issue is like it's this hypothetical like extreme, but like the way I view it is some people can like do bad enough things that sometimes we just go like, you know what, like you are no longer a part of us. You're not like you've given up everything that it means to be connected with one of us, and you're like, I'm sorry. What I think that like threshold comes to is like harm in the sense of like you have gone out of your way on multiple occasions to genuinely hurt people like physically abuse people, like do things like that. The reason
I'm not
Andrew Tate I
confused
think
about
can
that.
fall the reason Andrew Tate can fall in this threshold is only if like he gets convicted and it turns out to be the case that yeah, he was trafficking women, yeah, he did do like that rape like I think at that point, and also it's not just trafficking women, it's trafficking women in like a criminal ring, right? He created a criminal organization to do this allegedly.
Not that you can traffic them legally, but what when I say who does the raping, it's not just because it's like a silly thing to like point out that your hypothetical is silly. This comes back to who, if we want to torture people, i.e., put them in prison, i.e., retributive justice, and like whatever you do to somebody, we're going to make sure it gets done back to you. You're still creating the same awful scenario into the world over again. I don't see how this is beneficial for anybody.
Because
Is
you
the
repeat a
idea here a
cycle.
deterrent? Is it just to make one person feel better by making another person feel bad? The really big issue here is too that we're deciding that some people have like this like a god capacity to know who's good and who's bad and how we can make things right. Like your ideas of justice seem to just cause more hurt and pain in the world, and I don't know how this makes the world a better place. Can you
I
like
guess
how are we creating more good in the world? This person isn't unraped by the person getting
Mm-hmm.
tortured who did it to them. That
But if
they
they
are.
told you that it made them feel better, if they
I
told you
wouldn't
that
believe them.
genuinely that action made them so well, then you're just saying that it's on you. You're deciding completely if they feel good or not, right?
Well, I think that you can feel good for the moment, and then now this person has to know later on when that wears off
If they
that
still
they're the
feel good,
cause
then
of doing what happened to them to
okay. If
somebody
they
else.
still feel good about it because that other person was such a monster, is that a bad thing? Because then you're just saying that like
Yes, it
you're the
is.
arbiter.
Okay.
So,
You're
yeah,
wait.
I
You're
mean,
saying
I
that
think
you're the
it's
arbiter.
like sitting here and saying like, because they caused the death of someone that I love, I want the death of them. But then you sit with their death on for the rest of your life, and then you have to constantly sit on that. Like that's bad. That's just
No,
inherently
it's
bad.
bad to you. It's not bad to the person. It might not be bad to that person who's been a victim of like these horrible people. They might look
Okay,
at this and be like, "What has
wanting
happened to
death
me?"
of someone, regardless of whatever they do or not, is still wrong.
No, no. We
Yes.
don't. None of you guys believe that.
okay, so hold on.
Well,
I mean,
I want to give Ice
there are
Beans a
literal
chance. Go ahead,
there are
Ice Beans.
literal
The
there are
floor.
literal there's literal organizations that like are essentially there's an organization I forget the name of where it's the families of victims who have been murdered, right? And they're like anti-death penalty because they recognize that like the death penalty isn't going to bring them like some kind of closure, right? So like I can agree, but I feel like there's a huge difference between like mocking someone and like literal torture for someone because of their actions. Like we're just talking
Well,
about mocking, right?
Ice Beans, let me tell you why these are connected. Is because
Okay.
one leads to the mocking leads to the dehumanization of someone, and when you dehumanize something, as FK has so aptly demonstrated, it becomes okay to not only mock, but to do these various things. So the argument against mocking the death or bad things happening to bad people is that it creates this societal dehumanization of people that will lead to them being actually treated in monstrous manners. Now, people have been asking in chat, well, were we wrong to celebrate the death of this person or that person? Saddam Hussein, for example, or other terrible leaders. Like there, we can acknowledge that someone needs to be removed, needs to be gone, needs to be unalived, not here anymore. That is something that we can acknowledge. That is a necessary thing. But it's weird to me if after they had killed Saddam Hussein, that they had all just like high-fived each other and started like cutting pieces off for trophies and things like
What
that.
do we do to
That would
Gaddafi?
be weird, and I think that would cross that line. Right?
Wait. What do we do to Gaddafi? We did celebrate it.
Yeah, but
Didn't
that
they like?
wasn't good.
No,
Yes.
I think it was pretty good. I think
I'm
it was.
sure
If you're
you
a
do.
dictator, guess what? I hope more dictators. What happened to Mussolini was beautiful. What should happen to Gaddafi should happen to more dictators. I think those things are good things. Like if there's people, again, it's not on us to dehumanize
Um,
people. It's not our
What I'm saying
ability
is
to decide. Wait,
it's a
it's
good
not
thing
our
for it to
ability to
happen, but
decide like
maybe
people.
necessary.
What's up?
Maybe necessary instead of good.
It's
I,
not about it's I don't think it's about necessity. I don't think anything is necessary, right? War isn't necessary, but it's a reality of how like we do things. This catharsis that we feel. I don't care about the person. I don't care about the person who's committing these evil acts, right? I'm not saying like I want to dehumanize people off of some random arbitrary things. I'm saying that when people constantly commit these actions, there's like a level of humanity you have and you keep getting rid of it because you're deciding like these actions are worth like are me doing these actions are worth like every other person's experience.
FK. So I agree with you that we do the calculation, but the calculation when we have the scale always assumes there's going to be weight on the other side. We're not supposed to celebrate the suffering of Gaddafi. We can celebrate that he's no longer hurting people. We can celebrate the fact that he's no longer capable of doing that. That's fine. But like, that's not the argument. The argument is whether or not it's acceptable to derive this kind of perverse pleasure from the suffering of somebody
Yes.
you don't like, right?
Can I build on what you
And
just
no,
said?
I
Normal.
don't think that you should like if you like jerk off to the thought of Gaddafi like crying out in pain. That's just psychopathic behavior, right? You are like you are
Wait.
fetishizing the suffering of a
It's
human
not
being, of a person.
it's not jerking off. It's you. If you are a victim of this person, or if you're somebody who's been very harmed by this person, the idea that that person is finally being punished for all of the harms that they've committed on others is a good thing. It's really weird. It's like telling somebody like you breathing is a bad thing. Their brain makes them feel good about it. They cannot control the pleasure they feel at this idea that this person is being like hurt off of like off
If
of the
I get
fact that they've hurt
aroused,
so many
that
others.
doesn't justify me to do anything I fucking want with my
No, it's
arousal. It doesn't
no,
justify
Yeah.
just because I feel
yeah.
a thing, just because I
You
get a
may
hard
feel
on,
that
doesn't
way.
mean I can stick my
No,
dick
it's
in.
not just feel.
Okay?
You
It's
may feel
Right?
that way, but then to go
Or
and
parade your dick.
celebrate it and to parade around about it doesn't make it
I think you're
right.
just
That's
lying.
not okay.
I think the
You are
internet has
you
made people. No, I
you
think
are
the internet
justified
has.
in feeling. You're justified in feeling your emotions. That's fine. But the moment that you
Everyone
come
feels
around,
this.
I
and
don't.
I'm not saying okay. It's wrong to celebrate it though. To
No,
go
people
out,
celebrate. The only issue is the internet has made it so we're able to see people's celebrations more often. Historically, what this would have been is somebody in your town was a really, really bad, annoying person. They hurt a lot of people in your town. They get killed off. They get hit by a car. Something really bad happens to them. They get like some horrible disease. But guess what? Everyone in the town that knows each other is going to walk around to each other going, fuck yeah, like that person's finally gone. They're going to be like, I'm so happy XYZ is like going through this bad thing. But guess what? Now we just have the internet. So it's like made our town much bigger. We're just like viewing normal interactions, but on like a larger scale.
It's a
No.
bad town then. Lactoid said we should celebrate that the person, they should be happy that the person can't do the bad things anymore. I don't even think that. If a dictator's dead, celebrate the freedom of the people. Do not celebrate the death
Those
of the
people are
person.
celebrating their death and their
I don't
freedom.
care what other people do. I think that they should celebrate their freedom. They should not celebrate that a death had to have happened. They should
I
mourn
mean,
the
that's
fact that they allowed for a system to be put into place where that happens, or that it happened to begin with, whether they
wait,
allow
but
it or
that's
not.
easy to say. But when your family was the people who were
That's
being hurt by that
how I
dictator, when you're
behave.
the people who are constantly being like harmed, I know for a fact you're not gonna sit there and be like, I'm so happy we're free. You're gonna sit there and be like, I'm so happy that guy who like killed my uncle. I know this because I have family who's like gone through really fucked up shit in Albania. You're gonna be like happy that those people who hurt your family aren't threats anymore. You're gonna be happy that they are like people who have now suffered for what they made you go through.
I don't think. So let me put it this way: I've been in plenty of situations where terrible things have had happened to people who have done terrible things to me and my loved ones. I did not celebrate it. There was nothing to be gained from that. They were already far enough away to where they couldn't do anything bad anymore, and I did not celebrate their suffering at all. I don't think this is good. It's bad for you. You're
I mean-
engaging with a part of your brain that allows for you to feel sadistic pleasure in general. And if you're celebrating that and if you're indulging in it, you are teaching a part of your brain that you do not have control over to derive pleasure from harm. Period.
100%.
This is-
It's the
that is
definition of
psychopathic
vindictiveness.
behavior.
But
You're training yourself to be vindictive. You're training yourself to be sadistic. There are parts of your brain that you can't actively teach things to, but when you passively allow yourself to do things, you are changing your psychology in a way that is very difficult to correct if you don't change the idea first.
okay, hold
This
on.
is not
hold
a
on.
new
this
idea.
But hold on. I can understand it. I can understand this argument in the sense of like, okay, maybe try not to derive pleasure from people like literally dying. But I feel like this exact argument will be just. I feel like the direction that I kind of sense y'all heading in is just like any time that any bad thing happens to a person, we're just supposed to like switch off the Schadenfreude that you feel, like.
Ideally, yes.
Why?
That's not realistic. You're asking.
Okay,
Wait, like
I
you
can
guys are the
understand. I
exception.
can
it
understand.
takes
I understand
time to
it.
learn these
No,
things.
let
you
me
know?
let me.
No,
yeah,
no,
let me
no. But I
try.
guess.
Sorry, wait, was the question
why,
what
though?
do people do or what should people do?
It's what
Because I feel like
should
we keep
people
going
do. I
on to what
understand
people
that
are
this
doing.
is this is human nature, but it is a part of human nature we should suppress. It's
No,
something we
it's
should
not. It
mitigate.
keeps
But
us
but
safe.
wait,
Because
wait,
it's
wait.
leading.
Hold on,
What
wait,
this
hold
part
on.
of you let me finish, and then yes, you can respond, Ice Beans. I'll give you the floor. This part, this pleasure that you feel when bad things happen is what leads to monsters. It is the part of humanity that creates the toolbox killer. It creates the Gaddafis. It creates the
That's a lie.
Hitlers. This is what does it, and we are feeding it. We are
No.
feeding this portion
No.
of ourselves. This
Wait, so why
monstrous
aren't
the
Wick.
monster that dwells
Wait,
within
why,
us
why isn't
all.
everyone?
It
then why
creates the
isn't
desire
everyone
for
a monster?
war.
Wait. Then why isn't everyone a monster? If you accept that everyone feels these things, why isn't everyone going out there doing these things?
Because
you
some
guys
of
are
us
saying that's how
suppress
it
that
happens.
shit.
No,
Wick,
you're
it's
saying a
not.
majority of us have the
No.
ability to suppress it, but then we can't do it because like we suppress it, but we don't suppress it. Like, are we suppressing it or are we not? Because you guys accepted that majority of people feel this thing. If a majority of people feel this thing and just feeling this thing makes us act on this thing,
No,
why isn't
no,
everybody
not
acting on
just
this
no.
thing?
Stop,
Makes it more
stop. It's
likely
not
to.
just feeling it. It is feeling it and then celebrating
do
it and
accept
then
it. We
being like,
have.
"Fuck yeah, this is
But-
giving into that feeling." I can
Wait, do you
feel
think these
hungry, but it doesn't
Wait.
mean I should eat all the time,
are these
right?
people for
I
Wick,
can
getting paid to
feel a
Wick,
becoming
There's
serial
thing
a
killers?
and
there's a
deny
difference between
myself.
feelings and actions. This is what he's trying to get across.
Yeah.
There's a difference between feeling
Okay.
something and then acting upon it. And then the moment you start acting upon these negative emotions is going to progressively get worse, is what he's trying to say. And then maybe let's say hypothetically with one person, they do this and it repeats and it repeats and repeats, and then they just lose all that control, and then they decide, you know what, I'm gonna be this person that's gonna go out there, I'm gonna fuck somebody up because they fucked me over.
So why
And then
doesn't
now
that
you have
happen?
I mean, I think
It
that
does.
that's.
This is
I
human
feel like
history.
Why
Like
isn't
this
no.
is
that
Wick,
fucking
why,
like
Wick,
when
why,
the
Wick.
oppressed
What?
suddenly become free of their chains and become there is a tendency for them to become the oppressors in turn.
Yes.
This is a cycle. It's a
Okay,
cycle of
but
violence.
it's a
This is how
cycle.
this
It's
works.
okay, but it's not. It's sorry, but I you're gonna have to convince me how the cycle of violence is entirely driven by people who just like gave into the pleasure of like.
Entirely driven is doing a lot of work there. It's not
Well,
entirely
so's what you
driven,
just
but it
said.
is
So's what
aided
you
and
just said.
abetted by this.
Okay, look.
but these
Okay,
people feel
here's
this already. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
okay.
Have you ever
Look,
wanted to have
I
sex
think
with
of
somebody
it.
who don't have sex with you?
What?
Are you kidding me? Like you could
No,
feel
actually,
something
never.
really strongly and not do the thing that you all
No,
automatically
I
want
always
to
get a
do.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, look. Okay, here's
well,
what
based on how you
I
empathize, I don't know if I trust that.
I have extreme empathy, bro. How do you think I can be so manipulative? I'm kidding.
look. I feel like Schaden, like, because this is Schadenfreude that we're talking about, right? Like just general, like, relishing in somebody else's misfortune. I feel like it's more akin to a vice where it's kind of like gossiping where, yeah, it can lead to harmful things. Should we always do it? Probably not. But like, what can you functionally like, how are you supposed to change society for the better by like stopping this kind of thing? Because I feel like that would just kind of lead into like thought crime, like, free speech sort of things. Like if you're just saying, okay, you can't, like, okay, fine, we can't mock Andrew
Not
Tate's
can't,
like
shouldn't.
cancer.
Not can't,
Correct.
shouldn't.
There's a difference.
None of us
But
are
then
trying to
how?
litigate
Okay,
this.
but then
we're not trying to
in this
prevent
thing.
you from saying anything. We're just saying what you're saying isn't right.
What I
Okay,
want
but
is
then like
you can do it, but I want you to know that you're doing a bad thing when you do it.
Mhm.
right.
So
but
when
then
that
the
part of your brain gets
extrapolation-
engaged in that sadism, another part of your brain gets engaged and goes, "I'm fucking up right now."
It
Okay,
is.
so
It
you
is
want like
sadism.
so you want like a cultural shift is what you want.
Yeah, which we
But
have.
how
Which
are
we
you
have.
going to?
Yes.
Well, how
Mhm.
are you going to affect that?
Well,
Well,
things like this.
This
right?
conversation
It's
is
already
part of
this-
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's also kind of meta, right?
No,
Like,
no,
why,
we're
like,
shaming
what,
people for dancing on graves, right? Like, if we let's think about the most vindictive, sadistic people we know, right?
I'm not even
The-
shaming.
Vindictive, like sadistic people, like this behavior is expressed by the worst people, like the people who do the worst things, the dictators we're talking about, but especially criminals, right? You want to think about it, like who's more vindictive than gang members? Who's more vindictive than murderers? Like who's like these people like just elate in the pain and suffering of other people, and they hate people and they want to harm them just to make them suffer. They're not
The
thinking about
worst-
this rationally.
Yeah, the worst atrocities in human history has been committed because one side thought the other deserved it.
But that doesn't mean
what-
anything. Like, okay, people fight. That doesn't change anything. Like, the issue is, again, like, it's fine. I don't think it's wrong for people to take pleasure in the suffering of others, because when others commit certain actions, they don't get that same sympathy, right? I don't look at somebody, like, I look at a new person, a blank slate. I don't have any history behind that person. If something bad happens to them, I'm like, oh, that's fucked. I don't want bad things to happen to people. But if somebody has a long history of doing really, really bad things, they don't have that blank slate anymore, right? They don't have that like ability to do whatever they want and like get away with it. If they want to be like, if they want to get sympathy, if they want to get that same empathy from people, it's on them to prove that they deserve it again, right?
Can I give you a
That's like the way I
hypothetical?
view this.
I'd really like to see where you're
Hey,
at
I'm
here.
gonna get a drink real quick, so be good, guys, while I'm gone.
Okay.
I'm gonna say some really bad
So
things.
this is so this is the hypothetical. There's somebody who is shooting up a mall, and somebody finally disarms them. They get them subdued. The handcuffs are on them. Is it okay then? They are subdued. They are handcuffed. Police are approaching this person. They're not getting away. Is it okay for me to pick up the gun and shoot them in the head now?
Yeah.
No way, dude.
No,
That's
yeah. And also, it's not
that's
even just
insane.
that. I can tell you a case that's happened where I'm okay with it. There was a fucking pedophile. There was a pedophile who like raped some guy's kid. Guy walks into the courtroom, pulls out a gun, shoots the guy in the head. Guess what? He was also let go. The whole town decided this man doesn't deserve it. Because guess what? The guy who did that thing to his kids brought it on himself. He did enough
Yeah,
things.
because
to,
mob
like,
justice is always very accurate and
it's
always
not
comes to the
always-
right
wait,
decision.
it's not always accurate, Lactoid, and it's not always the right decision, but it makes, like, my point is we do these things for a reason. We probably shouldn't always allow it to be mob justice, but there should probably be some system in place where it's like, listen, you get, like, we'll give you your comeuppance. It's why the death penalty's there, because it's like, guess what? This person has done enough bad things where we're like, we don't want to deal with him. We'll give him his comeuppance. I think, like,
So allow
know, the way it's
vigilante.
Your
set up is
position
fine
is
as well.
always that emotions of people that have been hurt decide what is the best thing
because these
to make
things are
them feel
based on
better.
emotions. Because like the reason we do these things is because of emotions. If we didn't have these emotions, when somebody kills somebody else or when somebody does all these crimes, everyone else would look at that person and be like, it is what it is. You know,
The
as long as
reason
they're
we
what
have
doing good, as
courts
long
is
as I'm
because
fine,
it's
I'm
a
fine.
terrible way to litigate what happens
really
to
is.
people when something bad happens.
But
If
what
something
happens
bad happens,
to-
if somebody steals $20 from me, I'm like, you know what? The only thing that's going to make this any better is if I can shoot him in the head. Like you could go to the murder example. If somebody murders my kid, what if I'm like, all right, well, they can never feel the pain that I feel. I don't want him to die. I want their kid to die. They need to feel how I felt. How is
I
that
probably have more of
okay?
an issue with that because you're hurting the kid. But if you hurt them and then the kid's taken care of, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, but they didn't just hurt me. I'm a victim. My kid's a victim. I need two victims in place now. I need them to die. I need their kid to die, and I need them to suffer like me. I need two victims too. My
Yeah,
kid.
okay, I'm gonna be real. I probably wouldn't blame you on a very moral level, but on like a very basic level. But guess what? At that point, it's up to the courts, right? If you can
Wanting
get,
the
if you can
kid to
convince-
die?
if
Wait,
you
why
can-
are my
if you
emotions
can
not
convince
okay?
if you can convince a court, it's fine.
What?
If you want
This
the
is
no,
the
no,
only
you
time
know,
when a
if,
court
if
needs
you
to be
want
convinced in all of your
telling you
arguments.
No, no, if you
I'm
want the
telling
kid to
your emotions are
die,
valid.
you know,
I'm telling
your
you
your emotions are not
valid.
valid. If you want a kid to die, your emotions are not valid. You are a
Mm-mm.
psychopath. Like you are.
If
like
they killed your kid, guess what? Like that's how shit works.
Oh,
It could make sense.
no.
Wait,
Your
it makes
your
sense to
emotions
wanna
are
feel
valid.
that.
Your emotions are valid
is
if
your-
you want to take another innocent life because your child was taken from you, so you want to take
Wait,
another
that's a
innocent
valid
life.
emotion.
It-
Whether or
that-
not
really?
whether or not it's a valid emotion. I don't think it should be like
This
allowed.
is
I think
literal
you should be
biblical
punished. Wait,
stuff.
I'm biting the bullet on this, right? I think it's a valid emotion. And like when you get into the court system, yeah, I think you should be punished for hurting the kid. You're probably also going to get punished for hurting the dad. But I think it makes sense for you to have that emotion immediately because of some really bad things that have happened to you.
Well, I
Millie,
feel like
did you want to say something
I've
earlier?
slain the boss here. I don't
No,
think
no.
anybody's going to take your argument super serious now. That's crazy. That's craziness. That's terrifying that you said that.
You're saying it's terrifying, but this is like literally where our laws were. Hammurabi's code started off as that, right? We adapted it more and more as we got better
just for
and better.
toss
You keep
it-
appealing
just for
to the
toss
past
sake,
things that
FK, stop. Just for
No.
toss.
Yeah.
Make it more hypothetical, please, and talking about
Oh.
killing panelists. Yeah, let's not. Yeah, just
I'm not. Did I say?
make it separate, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Who said?
Happening.
Okay.
Hannah
No,
was
but like,
good.
listen, that whole an eye for an eye thing. The issue, like, it makes the whole world blind, whatever, right? The issue is,
it does.
it makes sense for people to feel the way they feel. If they act on certain things,
So-
right, it's really dumb. If somebody like did something to someone's kid and then you hurt the other kid, I think it's stupid because like you're not really getting revenge on the kid. You're not getting revenge on the person. I guess you are because you're making them
Yeah,
feel
you
the
are.
harm of their kid. But like That's
So
fine.
what?
I think you're hurting an innocent person. However, again, you're trying to move it onto this case and you're not going to the real cases, right? The cases like the Leonard Lake tapes where you can look at a person
We've heard the
who
cases.
literally
We've
no,
heard the
you
cases
didn't hear
though.
the Leonard Lake tapes where this
Oh,
motherfucker literally
okay.
recorded the women in
He
multiple
just
positions,
did something
and you can
awful.
watch it on
You
YouTube
already
as he
talked about that
literally
earlier.
laughs and as he tells them, "I killed your son."
You talked
How
about
do you
that
feel?
earlier.
I killed
You
your
talked.
son. If that person heard that and then looks at the person who told them, "I killed your son," as you're tied up on a chair, and that person feels like a rage and wants to kill that person, are you going to be like, huh, that's actually really bad? How dare you feel that? That's you're feeding into bad emotions right there.
I
That's really
understand it,
stupid,
but
it
I
feels
cannot
like.
I
condone it.
understand.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And now,
It's
what
not
happens in the cases
valid.
where we allow what happened in these cases where we allow these people to say, okay, this person, this person raped you, so you can have them be raped. Then, okay, what happens then when that person all of a sudden decides, oh no, I feel bad for doing that? What happens? Well, you can't turn back fucking time. It's already been done. You've
It's on
already
them
got
to
that
make
now
that
on your
decision if
fucking
they're willing to
shoulders.
take that risk. But if something bad enough has happened to them and they're willing to take that risk because it gives them that pleasure, I think it's on them. That person who's being punished has already given up everything else because they've decided to do enough worse things.
What if they were like momentarily insane and they didn't really weren't in the right mind when they decided it? Do
Mhm.
they still deserve like mocking and we could dance on
If
their
someone was
graves?
momentarily insane and did something really bad to people you cared about, are you
Yeah.
going to care about that momentary insanity, or are you just going to have that like reaction because you know that
Yes.
that's person?
Well, hold on.
I mean, if
I
it's
am on
if
I
it's
am on
like
team. You
Wait,
can't
I'll
ask
bite
me
the
that
bullet.
question because I'm on team. It's
Oh, yeah,
never
you are.
okay to hate people.
Yeah,
You hate what they do. So my question
I
for
think
you is,
yeah.
if somebody's like momentarily insane, can we hate them? Can we
Okay,
celebrate their
I
death?
think in the hypothetical of momentary insanity, then that's like I think a person can still hate them because I think like those actions are hateable. But I think the reality is like as a society we probably treat it differently. However, I don't care about that momentary insanity. I care about the people who constantly show their face.
I have the ultimate
I
bullet
thought we
now.
care about what the victims want.
What if you have what if you had a child, let's say like an 8-year-old kid
Mhm.
who committed a crime? Like
We treat kids differently.
well, when you just say we treat kids differently, but like what if the victim's family?
No,
they-
the 8-year-old, the toolbox
Mhm.
killer, the letter killer.
Yeah.
8-year-old did that.
I don't think an 8-year-old could do that.
8-year-old
They
did
did in
it.
this.
No, the
If
hypothetical
they-
is they did it.
Okay. In the hypothetical, if they did it, then yeah, the 8-year-old has done enough bad things to show that they like. I promise you, if you look into what the toolbox killer did, it's enough bad things. Like look at exactly what the toolbox killer did. He tied women up. He had animals abuse them. He
Yeah.
had multiple objects abuse them. He would literally tell them like in the tape. He tells them he walks them through exactly what he's going to do to them. If an 8-year-old watch the tape and then tell me, I'm telling
You
anyone in
would
here,
dance
watch
on the
tape.
grave of an 8-year-old.
Yeah, if they did what the toolbox killer did, yeah, I don't care. Watch the tape.
Okay,
If they
7-year-old.
did- if
We're
they
gonna
did
go
what
down
Spencer-
until
If they did what Spencer Von Brennan did, yeah, I would also dance on their grave.
4-year-old.
These
So
people
there
are-
there doesn't
no,
need to be a
because your issue
hypothetical
is-
in this situation because there are cases. There's one specifically. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a case of I believe it was 2 young boys that
Mhm.
beat another boy that was disabled.
Mhm.
They had mocked and bullied him, and then they took him out into the woods and they beat him until death. You would still then those
Yeah,
kids
the whole
after
town did.
after the after the entire process went through, they did everything within the court
Mhm.
systems. You would then still dance
Yeah.
on their graves.
Yeah, I would, because guess what? The whole town did. In that case, the whole town turned on those people. They had to literally remove them from the area, completely put them under like witness protection, and now those people are still being tracked by people who know how disgusting what those kids did was. I'm like,
Why does
issue
the whole town being
wait,
involved matter?
The issue, because I'm telling you, this whole town had that feeling of dancing on their graves. Like these people do.
Why
really
does that
disgusting
matter?
things.
You didn't tell me why it
Wait,
mattered.
We're coming from 2 completely separate points. You guys are looking at people as if everyone, again, has some sense of like, people have good in them. That's not the case. People can either do good or do bad. Whatever we do is like how we're going to be portrayed in our world.
That's very simplistic. When it comes to this sort of behavior of celebrating or even just like cheerleading for someone dying, even if it is someone who has done atrocious actions, not only does it not add to anything productive or even beneficial to everyone else, but you're kind of becoming like them in a way. So you're no better than that sort of evil
don't
that's
think that's
within
true.
all of us.
Do you think
Okay,
the
hold
person
on.
that
Explain.
pisses on the wait, go ahead.
I want to give
No,
Icene
explain.
the floor.
Okay, I guess I find it hard to it's to believe that when it's a thing that we do, that we go to comedy clubs and we listen to stand-up comedians, like a huge part of comedy involves like mocking other people, but somehow we're lowering ourselves when we do that, I guess. Is that
Well,
possibly
It's not
It's a
just
in
joke.
is that the
context,
argu- is
James,
that
they're
the
saying we're
arguments?
comparable. They're saying we're comparable to these other people we'd be like the
Well,
Icebreaker, Toolbox Killer.
let's
Am I
talk about
well, in
comparable to
the.
kids that piss
context,
on his
No,
grave?
she asked a
Really?
question. She asked a question that deserves an answer. I think that yes, people who go to a comedy club and they're mocking people for getting cancer and dying.
No,
That
okay, hold on. Wait, no,
that's
no, no, no. I
still
just mean
that's
like
not
mocking
something I would laugh at.
misfortune. Not
Yeah.
mocking
Also, I just
misfortune,
found out.
period.
Also, I just found out one of those two kids
There's a
that
difference
killed that
in
disabled kid
misfortune of
became a
somebody
child
stubbing their
molester
toe
later
and
on.
getting cancer.
can we stop
Yeah,
interrupting
okay.
each other for this? Because I'm trying to. I just wanted to say about the comedy example. I think this is two completely different scenarios because one, in a comedy show, the whole point of laughing at comedy is that we're addressing issues that is absurd to talk about when we're like together in a society that's not in a comedic context because it's kind of taboo to address issues that are very like taboo in those contexts. So comparing that to actual acts of violence or when someone does something actually atrocious, which is not just it's not words at this point. It's not just poking fun at the absurdity of it. This is actually what's happening. And when it comes to actually celebrating what has actually happened versus a comedic context, is not the same thing.
Hold on, but
Especially if
Comedy is rooted in
comedy.
truth.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Comedy
well, of
always
course.
and also I don't see how it's exactly taboo to talk about these things outside of a comedic context.
Yeah.
Like,
So
okay,
have
I'm
you
not
ever
even
laughed
talking
at
about
something?
No, I don't mean that. I mean that
I'm talking about I'm talking about misfortune situations that don't involve torture and rape and killing. These things can be talked about in society, right? So I guess my point is that where do you draw the line from okay, this is actually dehumanizing to yeah, okay, I think that's funny to laugh at someone's misfortune because it's kind of funny.
it would
This
depend
person
on. I would
Have you
say it
ever
would
laughed at a
depend on the
joke and then
comedian and how they tell the joke, and if it's because comedy is also very complicated in itself because it depends on how the comedian is addressing the issue, how they frame a joke, if they're telling a story or if they're just blatantly just saying something really fucked up without any sort of context leading up to it, then I think there's differences there. It all depends on the
that's just
context.
bad comedy,
So,
right?
okay,
If they just
I would give Millie a chance.
Yeah,
To,
go ahead.
Millie,
okay,
go ahead.
I have a question. So have you ever laughed at a joke and you laughed at it, you thought it was funny, but then you still realize that you probably shouldn't have laughed at it, like it was
Yeah.
still a bad thing to laugh at? Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are the
there's
best
plenty of times.
jokes.
There's plenty of times
So
where people have been like, "Oh my god, I'm going to hell for this." Like, I'm going to
yeah.
hell for laughing at this. Like that's. But I guess
So
my
we
point
understand
is,
that there's a morality. Yes, sure, we can laugh at something and how a joke's presented, the setup, the payoff, whatever it may be. The jokes are a whole thing, but we can still understand that there's a morality based on certain discussions. Like yeah, it was a funny joke, but I probably shouldn't have laughed at it, but I still did. And I was kind of a little fucked up for laughing at it, but it is what it is. You're still fucked up for laughing at it.
And interestingly enough, when it comes to laughing, like in the moment at a joke, sometimes you can't really control what you're laughing at. Sometimes it's something that just kind of happens in your gut that you're not really thinking too much about. So I think there's also a line between laughing at something because it's something guttural, like it just hits you subconsciously and you're not really aware of it, versus actually having to think and meditate over actual atrocious
The
actions that
the
you have
issue
to
is
think
some of
about.
these people are useless people. Somebody like the Golden State Killer is a useless person. Bro killed dozens of women, gets captured when he's like 70, and now he's still in prison. Bro's a grandpa. Just at this point, like he's a menace to society. He's like ruined himself. He's like shown his face to everyone. He's been showing his face for however many decades. Get rid of that guy. Like he's not useful. He
Is
doesn't
he in
provide
prison right
We're
any
now?
not
help.
disagreeing. We're not
Yeah,
disagreeing on
no,
the
no one's
point of
disagreeing with that. He's in prison right now,
yeah,
correct?
He's in prison.
yeah.
Kill him.
Okay.
Like he's useless. He doesn't provide anything.
See,
Like what's the point of us keeping this guy?
You're like a
How do
super
you
villain, dude.
define How do
A
you
little bit.
define
He's
someone
like
who's
make
useless?
some
Somebody
Someone
supervillain
useless
useless
is
is
energy.
somebody who constantly does not like. Yeah, I guess his mom loves him, but it's somebody who constantly does extra harm to society because they get pleasure out of that.
I
That
don't
I
person to
think
me
that's
is a
you
useless
right
person.
now.
I will have my revenge.
I don't care. I don't care if no one loves someone. If no one at all cares about a person, I don't care. That doesn't devalue them to me or their personhood. I do not care. The whole thing about if you're only empathetic to those you think you deserve it, who deserve empathy, you're not empathetic. If you're only
wanna-
kind and you only care about the human rights of the people that you think deserve it, you don't care about human rights. You just don't. The human rights
no.
and empathy and kindness are for people who don't deserve it.
No,
These
because
are all
Wick,
or nothing
Wick,
things.
right now, you guys are all calling me a supervillain because I'm saying a person who is a rapist, a child molester,
didn't say that.
like doing all these horrible
I did.
things. I'm a supervillain because
he
I
is.
think these people are people who have given up their humanity. I think these people are people who do nothing. They might do actually. I'll clarify. They probably do
we're-
some
okay.
good things, but these people are overall negatives to society. Their I say extermination because I'm a fucking supervillain, but their removal from this society, they're like getting rid of them, allowing people to gain pleasure out of them provides more utility than like keeping them in a random cage for nothing.
Can I-
Oh, you should have just
I
said
don't
you're
know, I think-
utilitarian. I wouldn't know. I would have already understood that you're
No,
evil.
you
Wait,
guys
let
were
me-
talking
I-
about
I
utility
just wanna-
the whole time. You guys were
let me-
saying, "Oh, the
I-
human
I
rights
never,
are
I never said
utility."
utility. I never said
wait,
utility.
I need clarity on something. Is the fact that they did something a requirement, or if everybody's going to get a lot of pleasure on like hurting somebody, is
No,
that
it's
just
the fact they're doing those negative things.
okay? So what about doing negative things like makes? Because it seems like you said you were focused on like the pleasure from the victim or like the benefit to the victim for doing this. My
No, I'm
question-
saying that because of what they did, they're like they don't matter anymore. The victims matter more than them.
Okay, what about what they did? Like, because if you're a pure utilitarian, then I'm thinking that it doesn't really matter what they did. It just matters whether or not their
I'm
suffering
not
is
a pure
less
utilitarian. I'm
less
saying
compared
like,
to all the benefit that everyone else would get by hurting that person, right?
I'm using utility because it was like mentioned earlier on here. I'm not like a pure utilitarian. I'm saying that these victims, I empathize with them more. If they want to do things that like are worse to that other person, I care more about how they feel than how that person feels. If that person is suffering, that doesn't matter to me because their actions have shown me that they don't care about anybody else. They have already disconnected themselves from the greater of society. So if you want to disconnect yourself on an emotional level, then us like showing you that same respect doesn't matter. You are nothing more than somebody who like
Right.
is only doing harm.
And are all forms of pleasure equal here? So like, is the kind of perverse pleasure that the victims get from seeing somebody get tortured, is that like just as valid of a pleasure as maybe somebody feeling relief that they don't have to worry about being attacked anymore?
Yeah, probably. It's just like if we set this up in like a realistic thing, I don't think it could be set up in a realistic manner. So I'm saying like it's fine for people to feel these feelings of like I want that person tortured, I want that person out. But if we set it up as like a realistic process, yeah, I guess we could have like multiple therapists that look at a victim and they go like, are you like, will this make you feel? How much pleasure will this make you feel? Like, is it
Okay,
actually a
I'm
good
gonna
thing
take
to
this
allow you to
brave
hurt that
stance
person?
right
Then
now.
that's
I
fine.
wonder what the opinion of therapists are.
Real quick. I'm gonna take the brave
probably
stance
not.
right now. That if you think that if you are in a position where you want someone tortured, you need to fucking rethink your life. Okay, that's all.
I bet you
can
most therapists would agree here that you probably like expressing these emotions and gaining pleasure from the torture of others is probably
wrong.
not good for your psychological development. Probably not good for you in the long run as well. I'm guessing. I don't know of a stat on that, but I'll look
No.
into it. But I think
Oh,
most psychologists
like
would
depending on
probably
what somebody did. I'm sorry if somebody did something like what Von Spencer did to me, right? If I was 14 and like this dude was destroying me the way that this man destroyed like children, I don't know. If I grew up past 14, I had that connection to this is what this guy did to me. Yeah, I would feel a lot of pleasure in that man being like completely obliterated.
Okay,
issue
hold
with
on
that-
though. But
another
I think that
wait.
even if you agree that even if you are somehow a person who believes that these people who have done these insane things deserve to be tortured in kind, like I don't think that that necessarily means that like Andrew Tate that has done like I guess significantly less compared to those things. Like I don't think you have
I
to
don't think
agree
it's-
that they I don't know.
Is it really that much? If
I-
it turns out that Andrew Tate was trafficking women, if it turns out that he did rape women, is it bad for these people who either were victims of him or like might have been victims of him to look at him and be like, yeah, I hope that cancer fucking wrecks him.
Well, let
It's
me
kinda
ask
weird
this.
But
for
here's the
other
thing,
people
I
to
don't
do
think- I
it.
don't think-
I'm saying
I
it's
don't
kinda
feel like-
weird for
I'll
other
let
people to
Origin
do
go
it,
next.
but like,
I'll let Origin go next. But I have a question for you. So what if you weren't a victim of Andrew Tate? What if you were just some dude on the internet? Does that change your
it
answer?
depends on why. I think it depends on why you're thinking about it, right? Like for
So
me,
I'm just a
wait,
dude on the internet,
Yeah.
and I see Andrew Tate got cancer or something bad happened to him like that, and I'm
Mhm.
like, hell yeah! I have friends who are women. So I'm going to. So I am imagining if he had victimized those friends, I would feel really bad. So fuck
Wait,
yeah!
but I
I'm glad
already
he got
told you.
cancer. You
I
think
already told you, right, Wake? I said like I have sisters.
same
I
answer?
could easily put that perspective on like my sisters could have
Okay.
been somebody that got
I
fucked
just
But
over.
wanted to
you
be
weren't
makes
the
clear.
victim,
sense.
is what he's saying. You're not the victim of this person. So do you
I
have
don't think you just
justification?
wait. If you're
Eh,
the victim, I think you get more of a say if there's
So
like a
if you're
punishment
not,
installed,
if you're
right?
not,
But
if you're
But
not,
if you're
if
not
you're
the
not a
victim,
victim, if you're not a victim, you got to have a reason why you're connected. If you don't have any reason and you're just hating to hate, that's kind of weird. But like if you can give me a pretty decent reason, it makes sense for why you would
okay.
feel those things.
After
I want
Origin goes, can I ask FK a hypothetical so I can
after
understand where he's
Origin,
at?
yes. Origin, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Yeah, my issue here is the way you were describing what you view as somebody who is worthless, and if they've done a certain action, therefore, and if they've done in the specific example, I forgot who you said it was, but the old man who's in prison now, you said that they're worthless. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's a very reductive and also very dangerous way to view humanity, because even if he does these actions that are unarguably atrocious, you have to also understand that this person has desires. They also have moments in their
So what?
sanity where they think of positive attitudes or positive views of certain
Okay.
people, because the action of what they do is also, when you think about it in their entire lifespan, it's a moment. It's very few moments. I'm not saying that we should not view it as negative. Of course we should. But saying that they're worthless in a way, viewing it in that context is very dangerous thinking, because you also have to view that with other people and other examples, and I don't think you really provided your case there.
Listen,
So when you have that view of people, it dehumanizes all of us to such an extent that when you celebrate someone's death or a comeuppance of revenge in these contexts, not only does it not do anything for the person who did suffer or is still suffering under that influence, it just makes you not equally, but at least to some extent, that part of the evil within us that doesn't ever get transcended. So it
no,
doesn't make a lot of sense.
you missed what I said earlier. I think you might have at least. It's not that. People, again, I don't think people have like a genuine good or bad inside of them. I think people are like representations of what they've done. Again, these people who keep doing these bad things, they, in like my eyes, they're worthless. They're like useless people. They don't do much. They don't help anyone out. They're like, all they keep doing is they harm. Yeah, they might have good thoughts now and then, right? Hitler probably thought some really nice things now and then. All of those SS soldiers who were like holding those concentration camps and doing what they were doing probably now like went back to their family and they did some really good stuff. But the harms that they've committed are bad enough that I'm like, these people, I can't look at them anymore and be like, you are just as equal to humanity as like anybody else. You're still a human in the sense of like, you had like opportunity to do a lot of things, but all of your actions have shown me you are worthless. You no longer, again, are connected to us.
FK, I want to ask you a quick question. Let's just say if, and I don't want to get into like, and we don't have to get too much into this, but just let's say if I could show you empirical evidence that demonstrated that people who focus more on vindictiveness and that sort of catharsis from revenge, psychologically consistently rank lower in forgiveness, benevolence, and are less focused on universal connected types, and tend to be much more focused on social dominance and right-wing authoritarianism,
Mhm.
and that revenge statistically doesn't actually impact their catharsis at all. In fact, it actually tends to prolong it, and that people who get revenge tend to actually stay unhappier longer than people who don't. If this was the case empirically, as a utilitarian, you would agree that we should socially discourage this to actually benefit the victims, and that
I
to
clarified.
focus. You already
I'm
clarified
not a
that?
utilitarian.
Okay,
I'm not a
so
utilitarian.
even under this this sort of like
Listen to that.
adapted utilitarianism, like if it's better for the victims, the people who actually like were suffer from the crime, if just the psychological evidence shows that it's better for them that this doesn't happen and that we socially discourage it, would that change your mind?
Wait, is it better for them that we just discourage it, or is it better for them that we give them a bunch of tools to be able to deal with it separately? But like technically, it would be fine even if they wanted that.
No.
Can I see the study? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. It's under
I
the
know
American
Elder
Psychological
Drowsy
Association.
wanted a hypothetical too, and I want to give him that space. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Elder.
Thank you. I really want to understand like where this comes from because you said you're not really utilitarian. I've heard you make like utilitarian arguments. I've heard you make like intentionality arguments. So let's say we're all on your side and you say, okay, somebody killed somebody, and now we're gonna bring in the executioner to kill them. Somebody beat the shit out of somebody, so we're gonna have somebody beat the shit out of this guy. The person who is the enforcer here, if they take the job, but they only take the job because they fucking love killing people, they love hurting people, are you gonna have a problem with this then?
Probably not. But that's also because that person we've decided to put in a position where it's like they aren't if they start doing separate harm outside of that, then yeah, that we'd have to like deal with them. But if that's like their only harm they're doing is the harm to people who have already like done enough bad things, then okay. I just can't believe that somebody who has those feelings wouldn't act outside in public like that.
Well, okay. What if it was like a Dexter serial killer who only killed serial killers?
I'm
We
okay
say
with
we
that. I
could
don't
okay
know what
that?
to say.
That's
Like,
okay?
I don't think that's. I think that like the problem is we usually don't want vigilantes because like they aren't great at like serving out justice. But
I
like
wonder why.
the issue is if you could show me a vigilante that is serving out justice in a like good manner, I don't see a problem with that. If you could show me a vigilante that has like a very like higher of a success rate than even our prisons, what's the problem there?
He just said Dexter. Like the whole
Yeah.
point of that show is it's interesting
I
because
know.
you're rooting for the killer, and it
I
makes you
know. I
feel
said-
weird and
I
not
said
really
I'm
know.
okay
You're
with
just
that.
like go Dexter the whole time, huh? Like
Yeah,
get him.
bro. Like,
That's
here's
kind
my
of a
issue.
double standard, don't you think, though?
No, because that person isn't committing an extra harm, right? They're harming people who are already negatives. I would view that person as an overall positive, probably.
They're harming themselves.
They might be harming themselves, but if they're
I
willing to
mean-
take on that harm to like help everyone else out, then it is what it is.
Not only would they be killing other people, but they're also breaking the laws, just like how the other serial killer
Yeah,
would be
but
doing.
like, let's be real.
they
Not
would
every law is
also-
like. So what? Like again, the person
Wait a minute,
who
how do
shot
you
his
distinguish?
the
How do
person
you
the
distinguish which
person
laws are
again
worthy?
the person who shot his son's pedophile broke the law, right? He had to go to court. He got dealt with, but guess what happened? His whole jury was like, "We're not punishing this guy," and he got out of it. He broke the
I wanna
law,
bring
but
it
guess
back.
what? We decided it was okay.
I want to bring it back to what Lactoid asked for UFK is if the data has shown that revenge does not help a person, and it has typically shown that it actually say keeps a fresh wound or causes more harm than good, would you then change your stance?
Yeah, I might change my stance to people probably shouldn't enact that revenge, but then I still would keep my stance of it's fine for people to feel that feeling they have, right? It's fine for people to feel those feelings of I want this
Sure.
person to suffer in all these bad ways.
Sure. Sure. People are justified in having their feelings, one thing, but to enact on them is another.
Well, this isn't really like. Would you? I guess like. Well, okay, maybe no. When you said enact, I guess you meant like just expressing them, right? Not necessarily like, oh yeah, I'm gonna actually
Express
go.
them, parade out in the streets, or taking revenge, whatever it may be.
Oh, I thought you
Taking
meant
action.
Well,
enact as in,
taking. I feel
thought
like
you
it.
meant I thought you
Okay.
meant enact as in like doing like if they want to torture if they felt like I want to torture someone then they go torture someone, right? Like I guess usually you wouldn't want that. But like
Yeah.
if they go out and tweet like I want to torture people, that's not problematic.
That
Like
I mean,
like people like that.
Okay, I mean,
I
okay,
should
No.
You buy more bullets than I
No.
do.
there's
Okay.
a problem
I
with
need
that
to
actually.
clarify. If one
Well,
of those
okay.
victims of like of the toolbox killer tweets like if a victim of him tweeted out like I want to torture my abuser, is that a problem? I don't think so.
I mean, I think that's a little indicative that they would probably need some kind of therapy, right? Because
need-
like that's just it just means that they're that like emotionally damaged by all of this. I would say.
And then I'm guessing.
Do you think if there's somebody
yeah.
rooting it on, like say it might make it a worse problem?
Again, society roots it on those kids, those 2 kids, and
That's not what I asked.
Society does a lot of things that we look. This constant appeal to like most people think this, most people do this, most people engage in this behavior. There's nothing to show that this is good behavior or that we should
do it because it protects us. Because in a society where we don't kick out the people who keep harming us,
we're not talking about not kicking them out.
No.
Yeah, there's a difference between kicking them out and taking revenge on them.
Those people, I don't care how we kick them out. Those people are problems to us. If we live in a society where we constantly hope that everyone's going to do the best, then guess what? You're going to get a society where you
that's
people
not what
to
we're
continue
hoping for.
doing their
We're
worst.
not hoping.
just
We're
appeal
not
to what
hoping for
people do
somebody
all
to
the
get
time.
better. We're not hoping for people to get better. There is a realization that we can say, hey, someone has continued to show us that they do bad, so we need to remove them then from society. Whether that means put them in jail or whatever it is, take
the question. The question is like, not should we remove these people from society or not? That's not what we're discussing here. What we're discussing here is it moral? Is it ethical? Is it okay to get pleasure from removing them from society?
Okay, actually, wait, hold on. I'm just gonna steal something that I just saw in chat. What do y'all think about like Django Unchained? Like movies like that.
Look, revenge porn is cringe.
That's a movie.
Revenge porn is cringe.
It's just a movie.
I want to ask.
Well, yes, but I guess okay.
Yeah, revenge
My
porn
point
movies
is
as a genre is cringe. I don't like it.
I feel
And
like
you-
But John
you-
Brown
you-
was a
you-
hero, so like I don't know what to say.
Yeah, because those people were actually he was trying.
They were trying to
Okay,
liberate
John
people.
Brown, the abolitionist, was fighting against a system that actually existed
How
and trying
dare
to
he kill
free
people, though?
people.
How
Right?
dare he get that? I bet he got pleasure in killing those slave owners, but how dare he?
Wait.
Okay, the
What
John
would you
Brown
say to
case
somebody
was
who
very
was celebrating John Brown's
extreme.
death? What would you say?
I would say they're probably wrong. I wouldn't say they're wrong in celebrating someone's death. I'd say they're wrong in celebrating John Brown's death because what John Brown did was a historical set of so many positives.
I will say this: if John
Okay.
Brown was getting pleasure from killing the slave owners rather than freeing the slaves, that is a problem.
I hope he was getting pleasure from
Wait,
both of those things.
Okay, can I? So I'm guessing
Right.
what you're saying there is like whether or not it's acceptable to celebrate someone's misfortune. Obviously, is just going to be based on like what you think is it right or wrong what they did. If you think it's what they did is wrong, then yeah, we can
I
celebrate.
don't think it's just me. I think my morals tend to like match what general like the average. Again, my name is just average FK because I'm gonna be honest. I think the way that I talk about things is the way that generally people tend to feel. I think the average person, at least the people I've talked to throughout like anywhere, right? The old people that I've talked to like in restaurants, the people that I've talked to like at work, people feel these things.
Right.
The issue is it doesn't feel nice when we say it out loud.
Isn't that just anecdotal?
your
then?
morality
Like,
mirrors
let's-
every person who's never thought about morality and
yes,
gets
my
asked
morality does
questions
mirror
about
yours.
morality.
Well, I just wanted to follow that up with one thing. So I genuinely believe that like everyone who votes Democrat is hurting me. I think they're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
If I celebrated their deaths, what would you think of me? You would agree that
I mean,
kinda,
you
like,
could feel
ridiculous.
fine about that, but then you'd have to like show me how they're hurting you, right? Because again, I'm not giving you cases of just people who have like the wrong opinion. I'm giving you cases of people who have done harm on
Yeah,
people.
no. By
They're
voting.
creating a world
How-
he doesn't want to
wait,
live in.
so-
Yeah.
Are
So
you saying-
the voting is the
Are you
wrong
comparing?
act.
Are you comparing the Democrats to the like? the
They're
Box
worse.
Killer,
They're worse than
Gilbert
anybody
Blake?
you're about to
So you
read.
think
They
they're
are worse
worse?
than anybody you're about to read. Okay,
So
on
they're
aggregate,
worse than all
They're
of those
changing the
people.
whole world for
yes,
him.
Yes. By voting Democrat, you are actively harming me. The action
Uh-huh.
of voting is harming me. So my question for you is,
If you want to do that, if you want to feel your things, then feel them.
No, why shouldn't? But like,
That's-
so I actually think the correct answer would be like, even if I like beat you in a political argument, right? I think that you would still be justified in looking at me and saying you're fucking ridiculous for celebrating their deaths. Like, even if you can prove that, like, by voting
Listen,
harm
bro,
you,
you can be you're ridiculous because you're celebrating a really stupid thing. You're celebrating a vote, but you're not ridiculous if you're the victim of these killers and you're celebrating their death. You're not You're not like ridiculous if you're a Jew who was in a concentration camp and you're celebrating the killing of all the other Nazis. If you are a soldier, if you're a soldier who walked into those camps, you look at all those people who were there, and then you think about all the people you killed, all those other soldiers. Guess what? They were just soldiers, but when you look at the harm that those soldiers have defended, then guess what? You can feel very happy.
okay,
about
so
that.
you're in favor
But
of
I
also
think
like
that they-
mutilating bodies, right? So we should be able to take like the bodies
A
of
body's
people
a
who.
body. I don't care much.
Sure.
Oh my
It's a
god!
bag of meat.
I feel like the thing that I'm kind of kind of trying to go for here is being like stretched into like this like really extreme thing where we're somehow justifying like the like torture and rape and murder on like people who do bad things.
Let's
Like
get an opportunity to hear then from what you're trying to get across instead of going to the extreme that JK
yeah,
is.
I was because I like I kind of like entered this thing with more of a mindset of like, I mean, okay, cancer's kind of an out there thing for what I'm trying to get at, right? Because like I'm trying to focus on like the line between like making fun of like an average to everyday situation and like cancer, and where does that like where does the line where's the line drawn from like okay,
Okay.
now you are
Sure,
dehumanizing
I get you. I
someone.
get you. I think like
Mhm.
if Andrew Tate stepped on the Lego and we laughed, that's a little different, right? Than him getting cancer. I can't draw you the exact line, right? I can't give you the exact level, but yeah, I still think probably um you probably shouldn't celebrate anything bad happening to anyone, but I
You
can't
shouldn't.
be asked to care about celebrating stepping on a Lego, right? Like I just can't be
I'll
asked
say
to.
this much, Wick. Whenever something bad happens to anybody who I personally view as someone who has done negative to other people or believes certain things that I disagree with, I don't necessarily feel pleasure. What I feel is mostly just kind of like sadness, because it's like I'm sad because this person could have been someone better. They could have been a better person, but they weren't. And it's more just a tragedy than anything else. I don't view the evils of humanity as this thing, even if it gets eradicated, I'm not going to celebrate it, because I think that that genuinely doesn't show. It shows that there's a part of us that we haven't transcended, that we can't we haven't gotten to a point where we just see that this is the evil within us, like actually transcending
You
this part of us, finding pleasure in the wrongdoings of what happens to all of us.
you can have an emotion of like, oh yeah, like okay, cool, like fuck him, like I'm glad he's fucking stepped on a Lego. But there's a clear distinction. There's a clear distinction on having these emotions and then also suppressing these emotions and not acting on them. There's a clear distinction between these. I don't understand why we can't all agree that like okay, having the emotions is one thing, but going out and acting on them or celebrating them out in a public format is different. I'm not understanding.
Hella
I
basedness,
just
Millie.
don't
You
think
can
it's that.
fantasize about anything. You can't act on anything
Wait,
that you want.
you probably shouldn't act on it, right? I can
Mm.
say I wouldn't blame a victim for doing something really bad to their like abuser, right? However, what I can say is act if we're just saying acting on it as in like putting out a tweet or like going out in public and saying something, I don't like I mean, you could say that there's like the risk of like everyone starts acting on this more and more, but I don't think that's realistic. I think like the reality is people feel things. We just have the ability now to show people what we're feeling more easily.
Yeah, but
I have
controlling
no
those
idea why
feelings.
you think what you think. You jump around and then like you don't answer things a lot when by saying like, "Well, this is just what people do." Like, what do you I
No, but like the
I
issue is
I feel
when you if
like
you're
every
saying
time
acting
somebody
on it
tries
is
to pin
bad,
down where you're coming from, you just appeal to how things are. Lactoid's a conservative,
but
and
I
I don't haven't
told you
heard him once saying
why.
like this is how things are and they should be
No,
this way
I
once.
told you why. Because the thing is, to build a society, we have to have empathy for one another, right? We have to be able to work
We
with
already
one
have
another.
built a
And
society.
yeah,
We're the ones
because
advocating for empathy.
we've been able to develop that empathy over time. Alongside that empathy also came our ability to remove people from our society if they harm it. Those people don't get that same level of empathy. Though we can't lie to ourselves and be like everybody gets the
Wait,
same
see,
level of
it's not.
care
You
And
and
that's
just
empathy.
made
not
a jump.
empathy.
You
Wait.
got up to the point and then you skipped my entire
We can't
question and
lie
then
to
carried on.
ourselves. We can't lie to ourselves and keep pretending that every single person, no matter what they do, is still going to be treated as like an equal human because they're all equal, like no matter what.
There's
People are
no
equal.
No
lie.
one here
People
is
are equal.
advocating for that.
But you guys are, because you guys are saying, "Oh, it's so bad to like not care about these people." These
No,
people are
there
fucking
are
monsters.
things you
These
can
people don't
do
matter.
that would. There are things you could do that justify you losing your privileges and rights in a society, to being in prison, locked up, even in fact, I would go so far as saying removed from being alive,
If we're
right?
gonna put them in
I
a
think that
fucking
is
cage,
something
I
that
don't
can.
care what
But
happens
there
to
is a
them.
huge difference. Like the problem becomes, and let me try to elucidate this as much as I can. I think I've tried this several times, but people aren't getting this, right?
Mhm.
It's not that we don't treat them differently. It's when we dehumanize them and when we start getting pleasure and schadenfreude from these bad things happening to them that creates this feedback loop inside of us, this societal feedback loop when
You get it.
people want to hurt others that they think deserve it. It leads to fucking atrocities. And yes, most people do think this way, and that's why there's a lot of fucking atrocities in the world, my friend. That's why there's a lot of people who just sit back and watch as they commit genocide and things
Tribal
like that.
revenge.
It is
And
no
also,
different. It is
I
no
would like
different.
to say,
No, it is different because these people have thought about this for so long. Every individual out there who gets that schadenfreude, who gets that happiness off of the suffering of evil people, don't go out there committing these evil crimes. They don't get that feeling.
They
like
allow it
me.
to happen.
No,
How do you know
No,
that?
they don't. Because guess what? It's not an. They don't care. You're viewing this as if something bad happens to that person who has given away their humanity, we're also evil. If we're willing to lock them in a cage, I don't give a shit what happens to them. If that person is such an evil person that we're putting them in a cage.
You think
throwing
you
them
have
in a-
decided?
wait,
No,
wait,
you have decided
wait,
that a group
we're
of
putting
people
them in a
deserve
cage
to be
and throwing
killed
them in
and
the cage.
tortured.
We have decided as a society these people are trash humans who we throw away the key on.
Exactly. This is what a Nazi would be telling the Jews. This is what a
No,
Nazi would be
that's
telling
not-
the
We
Jews.
as a
You decided
society,
that
we
you were
decided
trash
this.
people that
Did you
deserve
get your
what
win?
you're doing.
Did you
It
get
is
your
the
win? I'm
fucking
the Supervillain,
same
I'm the
way
Nazi.
of
You're
thinking.
right, I'm the
It is
Nazi. Guess what?
fascistic
Wait.
and dangerous.
Rick,
You are a
guess what?
fucking
pedophiles-
monster.
to
You are a
pedophiles, to
fucking monster.
wait, to pedophiles, to people who are willing to go out there and abuse these people, to all these serial killers, guess what? I am their fucking Nazi. I'm the person who thinks that they deserve that suffering. Those people don't matter to me. Those people get thrown away. It's not like the Jews. You want to compare them to the Jews, but guess what? The Jews don't have something that they've constantly done. The Jews aren't a group of people who have done this extra thing to destroy their humanity. The Jews are a group of individuals who do things. Among the Jews, there's some people that guess what? They might do enough really
hold on.
bad things.
What do you think?
that they
What
get
do you think
about
punished.
people who don't have
Amongst
Jews
the
who are
whites,
afraid
The
to
Nazis
build
painted this.
amongst
Look,
the
look
whites,
at what's
there's some
happening.
people who
Look
do
at what
enough
people
bad
are
things that
painting
they get
trans
punished.
people as. People are training. They are painting a group of people as pedophiles, groomers, etc. in order to justify them being able to do
I'm
terrible
not painting a
things.
group of
They
people.
are
I'm talking about
playing
the pedophiles. I'm
into
talking about
this
a person who
idea.
is a pedophile.
This has
Well,
gone
you
off the
kinda
rails.
did.
I'm not saying
No,
we
I'm
can't.
not saying
Okay,
people who
certain
are- I'm not
right,
saying
and we can
I'm
punish
not
the we
saying
can
these
punish the
people-
actual
oh my
pet.
God,
Yes,
if I need to clarify to you guys. When I say
I get it.
I'm not saying the Jews. I'm saying that the Jews is a group. I don't say that these groups can do these evil
Right.
things as groups. I'm saying that amongst any group, amongst Jewish groups, amongst white groups, amongst black groups, there's individuals, and those individuals can do a lot of really good things or a lot of really bad things. If they keep doing a lot of really fucking bad things, then those individuals deserve to be treated like fucking trash.
Right, you're
'Cause guess what? They're
saying
all
that.
trash.
You're right. You're saying that. The problem is earlier in this panel, you brought up that if somebody wanted to kill someone's kid because they got their own kid killed, that would be valid.
Yeah, I said
So
I'd have to bite the bullet on that. I
You'd have
guess,
to
but
bite
it'd
the
be
bullet.
weird.
Well, so the racial implications clear then, right? If my family was, well, let's say
What?
if let's say a family member of mine was killed by a black guy, couldn't I make the jump? Well, I get to kill a black guy now.
If you as an individual want to make that jump, it makes weird sense. I guess you could make the hoops to that, but guess what? As a society, we've decided that you are
We've
fucking an idiot.
decided.
But as a society, we've also decided that some people are trash
So
fucking
if we get
Let's
enough
make-
people
what's
to
the
think your
difference?
opinion, if we get enough people to say that your opinion is
Lactoid.
wrong, then
Lactoid,
society says
Lactoid,
you're
we
wrong.
already do. We have people we put in cages and we don't ever look at them again.
no,
We literally make jokes as a society that people get
okay,
raped in prisons.
all right,
We
I
laugh
understand.
about the suffering of
I
these people
don't.
who are
Okay,
trash.
Hold on. I don't make the fucking
Good for
prison
you, you're
prison.
special, but
Yeah, no, I'm
everyone
better.
else is.
I'm better than that, right? I don't make the prison rape jokes, okay? Because I'm better. Now, the point I'm trying to make is you consistently appeal to, well, society is okay with XYZ fucked up thing. We've decided this. And if this is your, what Wick was trying to do is attack this basis for argument. Society does this. We've decided
No.
this is never even an argument. It's never
No,
a
we
justification
do
for
it
anything
because
ever.
we do it because it fucking makes sense. I already said
Then
earlier,
argue
these
only
people-
why it makes sense.
I already said these people who are useless don't matter to us. As a society, we've decided because they don't matter, we can get rid of them. They don't matter initially. These people have shown to us again
These
and
are-
again.
So,
that
These
they-
okay.
are very like
These
the-
people have
okay.
shown to us again and again. that
JK.
they only
So
wanna
the-
do
the-
is
the
find a hook
problem-
around
All
them.
right,
The
Millie,
pro-
Millie,
the-
give it a go, Millie,
Okay.
please.
I want to know then where's the line drawn? Because say in a case of there's someone is convicted of a murder, and then all these you say fucking go ahead and let the victims do all this shit, and then it comes out that this person actually didn't fucking do it. Like, what happens in that case?
Yeah, that happens sometimes. It's fucked. We should probably invest more into our police so we can get really good at finding out if these crimes have been committed or not, right?
Does anybody else find it even a
Okay,
little
and
bit
then,
ironic that he's
I'm-
talking shit about like saying that we shouldn't have empathy for pedophiles while he's grooming the entire audience to have no empathy for anybody? That
Congratulations.
he shouldn't. That you're mad at?
So FK, you can at least agree with me that whenever you say we have decided, the reason why this is dumb is if I get enough people to disagree with you, then I could say, well, we have decided that
I
these
guess you
opinions
could.
that you're expressing are
Lactoid,
stupid.
you could.
Yeah,
You
and
could
it'd
get
be
enough people,
pointless.
but guess what? You're not gonna, because for some reason, over time, every society, when we look at some of these people who've committed heinous enough act, we go, these people are worthless.
And
Get rid of them.
every society has had racism, and every society has had
Yeah,
X,
and
Y,
we
Z.
moved past it. We try to get better.
Yeah, no, so
don't
we
look-
have not.
we don't
Okay,
look-
yes.
We don't look at the racism.
You
when
have tried. Yes.
racism happens.
Listen,
when racism happens,
listen,
we
listen.
go, yeah, we should change the society. We should make things
No,
better.
no.
When-
You
when-
you and your group are saying that, but when you're appealing to like so many different like minds out there. You're appealing to like the collective social mind. You're appealing to like abolitionists only. You're appealing to your own like mind. I just wanted like some consistency here. If you want to say I have these opinions and like here's why it's wrong and I'm speaking for myself, that's one thing. But the justification that you continue to use, which is like we as a society have decided XYZ, that line of argumentation is entirely useless. It's more useless than like all the people you're talking about because you can use that to justify any status quo.
I'm sorry, I don't see these big movements to like protect pedophiles because they're good people on the inside. I don't see these big
Well, that's
movements
debatable.
to protect rapists because they're good people on the inside. I don't see these big movements to
Hey,
look at
why do
these
you keep
95-year-old
saying that they're
fucking-
good people?
Wait,
Nobody is saying that they're
wait,
good
I don't
people.
see these
You
big
keep
movements.
going back
You
and
guys
forth,
are treating it as
stating,
if we
no, we are not treating them as if they're capable of coming back and being good people. We're not saying that. We're saying let whatever justice needs to be taken care of. Let the court system handle it. But it doesn't also mean that we need to sit here and torture them and be like, yeah, that's good. Let's do that.
If the victim
That's
Well, I mean,
not
I think that- I
okay.
think-
you guys
I
are
mean, I
saying
think
that
that-
it's
I
crazy
think
for
that
people
fix-
to feel that.
Okay, but I think that just
Crazy to
average fucking
engage in it.
basically
How do you
saying
not get this yet?
no. I mean, I think the functional disagreement is that I think he thinks that they can lose their humanity, right? And y'all are saying that they can't. Like,
Correct.
being
Just
Right.
because
Human is
somebody
always
else has
human.
lost their
I
humanity
would
doesn't
like to
mean
point
I
out-
need to lose my humanity in torturing someone else over it.
Right.
I
No,
would
I,
like
think
mean,
to
he
I,
needs to
I
read
wouldn't
Animal
ag-
Farm.
I wouldn't agree with that either, though. But
I wanna give-
I also, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to give Origin a space here. Finish
I
what
would
you
just
said
like to
just real
point
quick.
out-
Finish what you're saying. But then after you're done, I want to give Origin a chance. Okay, Origin, go ahead.
I also just wanted
I'm
to point
sorry.
out what I mean by humanity, or how because we're all individuals in here. We all are going to have different understandings and interpretations of what we mean by humanity, and if someone can lose it. For me, for example, no one ever loses their humanity per se because ultimately people, even someone as atrocious as Adolf Hitler or Stalin, or just any sort of extreme example we always come to, they always had some aspect of them that wasn't wholly evil or wholly something that was unforgivable. Which that makes it even more scary to some extent, is because what made Hitler more egregious than normally than we would think he was really nice to his secretaries. He was a big fan of dogs, but ultimately, even if he committed those atrocities and his beliefs were unequivocally evil, they still have humanity to them. But we all have humanity to us, no matter how egregious we are. But if we are going to devalue our sense of humanity, and if
Okay.
we want to be celebrating this, it's not going to help us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, like, again, there is nothing, and I want to be clear, there is nothing that someone can do that justifies them being raped, tortured, or all these things. We can remove them, and we should, in many cases, and up to including death. but
If we're gonna kill them, who cares about the other stuff? Like,
it matters.
Because death
No,
is the
it doesn't. I feel
necessity,
like-
not rape.
You got to add dehumanizing to that too. When
bro,
you
if we're willing
dehumanize
to
somebody
just
who
kill
does
them,
these
I
things,
don't care what else happens to them. Like that,
Wait.
I think the issue is we're split off on like you guys are viewing this as if like I am so moral, I'm removing them by like putting them in that cage. I'm removing them by killing them. Bro, the way I view it is like killing them is already the max point. Anything that happens
it's
in
not.
between, if it makes the victims feel better, if it makes society feel safer to like hang that person up in the town square, cool. I don't care.
Torture is
everything in
worse.
between is fine.
reductive.
If-
I don't
we-
advocate
if-
for any
wait,
of that either.
makes sense.
Just
Black Point, if we want to
I mean-
bring back the wheel and we put up people on the wheel because they've done enough bad crimes, I'm okay with it. I don't know what to say. Like,
wait.
You're
Wait,
acting
you're-
as
you're in-
if,
But
or at
I
least
mean,
how
wait,
I'm
wait. Do you?
interpreting this. Sorry, I just want to get this real quick.
No,
You're-
yeah. Go
act-
right ahead.
Ask me if I'm wrong. Like, tell me if I'm wrong in this.
Yeah.
You're viewing the way you interpret or view people being tortured or killed if they've committed these crimes as if they exist in a vacuum, as if this doesn't in some way influence how everyone else is going to view and possibly act out in future courses. You said earlier that the people who celebrate the death of someone atrocious are not going to become are not on the same level as them or won't be to the same level. It's like, how do you know that? These people
because it's unrealistic. Because
how
guess
is it
what? Like,
unrealistic?
because
People are going to
if that
commit
was the case-
crimes and commit actions even if they are celebrating someone
If-
else's death. That they're not. This isn't some vacuum thing.
If that was
Like,
the
I
case,
don't
I
get
think
it.
we would see so many more than we do right now. I think we would see so many more people if like
lot.
because the reality is it seems to be the case that most people have these feelings. It seems to be the case most people already feel like when these really bad things happen to these really bad people, I feel really fucking good. I like that bad thing happening to them because this person is a horrible person. If people already seem to feel this, why isn't everybody acting on this? I'm thinking that we can kind of separate that, right? We have an understanding that usually we probably don't want to torture everyone, right? If it turned out to be the case that we could get a system where like torturing people is fine, I personally do not care what happens to those people, right? But on this general topic, it's like I don't get why it's wrong for people to get that cathartic feeling out of going out there and being like, what happened? Like that person who got cancer, they were really fucked up. They did all these fucked up things, and it makes me feel good to know that that person is now suffering. It like
It
I-
makes
you
you a
said
worse
something
person.
I
important.
want to go
I-
back
Okay,
to
I
the
have-
point.
Yeah.
After you, I want to go.
No, I
Go
just want to ask. I just want to ask FK if do you think that people can be rehabilitated?
Yeah, but like my issue is like here's what I think generally. I think our goal is to create a society where like even prisons, right? Prisons should have the goal of rehabilitating people. But like that's our job. Our job is to set up like the environment so people can do better. It's on those people then. If they don't want to use that environment to do better, I don't care what happens to them.
So
So
then,
go to
okay,
prison,
basically-
go to prison, get tortured, but you're also expected to be rehabilitated. Okay.
Like the torture thing
No,
is
I
like
think-
the torture thing is more of my extreme in the sense of like I think if we're willing to throw away people, throw away the keys and like or kill them off, I don't like I just don't view it as that different than being like
Oh, what do you
if
think
Wait,
about
are you saying
prison
that-
rape?
gain more
Are
out of
you
it.
Just
saying?
real
Are
quick,
you saying
Ah.
that?
What do you think about prison rape? Do you think prison rape's cool? You laugh at those jokes?
Top 10 best Tool
Usually
songs. You
it's
kidding
not
me?
good because it happens to a lot of people. Like if prison rape happened to somebody who was like some of the people I read off, I don't think it's that bad to them. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You'd
do you really
celebrate it?
care?
You'd-
What if like
you'd
what if
cheer
like
it on?
a
Yeah,
random
maybe even.
gangbanger? Would you
Maybe
celebrate
even
that?
if Victor Von Braun had if that happened to him because of what he did, I might celebrate it. Bro, read what these people did. It's fucked. These people aren't
Okay,
like
what about like
Wait, hold on, hold on,
a
hold on,
random
before-
killer, like
before-
like a gangbanger? Would you celebrate that guy getting raped in prison?
depending on like what he did, yeah,
He
probably.
killed
If
somebody.
he was like well, like who'd he kill? Another gang
Another gang member, yeah.
I don't care. They're gang members. They're fighting a different life. If he killed like a kid and a family or something, even if it was like the kids connected, then that'd be fucked. But like if he killed another
Okay, but
gang
then
member,
how
bro,
is
they're
that
living a
supposed
different
to?
life.
How is he supposed to rehabilitate him if he gets gang raped in prison?
Yeah, then we should probably try to avoid gang rape in prison. My issue is
Ugh.
I'm talking about in the system we have now. I'm talking about these very cathartic feelings people have. But like
Well,
Can I
in a
please-
realistic policy setting, yeah, you need to set up these prisons to be able to rehabilitate. But like
lose my
everything
mind.
that happens everything that happens after that is up to these people. If we see individuals who aren't willing to get rehabilitated, who continue to like abuse, if there's somebody in these prisons that we've already developed to rehabilitate people that continues to rape inmates, I don't care what happens. What if those inmates then get together because they all got raped by this guy and go, you know what? We want this dude to be fucked by a broomstick, and then we want to kill him. Do we really care about that guy? No, we just go fuck you.
God damn.
Okay,
Okay,
wait,
I
Millie,
gotta-
Millie. Oh
Elder,
yeah, sorry.
please. I'm gonna lose my
I had
mind.
a question. Okay, there was one question though that before. that I want to go back onto that you didn't really answer. You just said like we need better police, right?
What was the question?
So the question was in the case of someone being charged and then these actions are taken against them by the victims for justification, then it comes out that this person actually didn't do it. Then what happens in that case of these actions have been taken by the victim of, say, like an executioner or something like that?
Yeah.
Then what happens at that point? What
I
do
mean,
they
what
do?
happens when we kill somebody unjustly? What happens when we kill somebody and we find out that that person was innocent? Like, I guess we pay them or like they go through the legal proceeding that way. But like, the reality is, the answer to that is we just need better like policing. We need better like we need better funding to our detectives,
So
right? We need to be
would
able
you
to.
then be okay with that person then taking action against who we initially thought was the victim?
No, because they already like if that person, what action will we take on the victim? Because at that point we've gone through the legal proceeding, right? Everyone as a whole, because that's how our legal system works, right? We've decided that there was enough evidence to point to this guy. We were just wrong.
Well, no,
Like,
no,
I
no.
guess
Hold,
we
well,
would.
well,
Wait,
FK,
wait, wait, wait. Are you
FK.
talking about like if somebody, Millie, just as an example, like if somebody claimed that they were falsely raped, and then later on it was found out that that was false. You're
Mhm.
saying like taking action
Oh, was
against
it
the person?
falsely claimed? Was it
Yeah, I
falsely
think
claimed, or they
No,
were
not
and then
falsely
they
claimed.
Mistaken.
So in this example, say they were charged with murdering someone, and it comes to find out that this person actually didn't cause the murder, but the victim already took their revenge on them. Then what happens to the person that was falsely
Yeah.
accused?
I mean, like,
sorry, okay.
at that point, it went through the legal proceeding. It wouldn't just be on that person. It would be on the whole court system to be like, okay, we all
So
have to
then the
pay some
person
amount
that
of money.
but what I'm getting at is like
Yeah.
in your thought process, then it would be okay for that person that got falsely accused to then take revenge on the on who was
No, it
initially
would
judge?
the
probably be-
victim.
I
On
mean,
the
it would
judge,
probably-
on the jury,
Wait.
on the every single person
It
who
might be
harmed
On the
them.
panel.
They could
There's
all
people-
put
there's
them
people
all
now-
in the.
I want
There's
to
people
hear
now-
his. I want to hear his.
There's people now who get falsely accused of murders. They get put in prison for like 40 years of their life, and they get out. If that person looks at the judge, looks at the people who falsely accuse them, looks at everyone around them, and goes, "I want you people fucking dead. I want the worst thing to happen to you people." Because guess what? Their last 40 years of life were wasted. Then I don't know. It's not crazy to be like, that's how that person feels. It's not crazy for that person to have those emotions. If they act
I'm
on
not
it,
talking about
that's
how
like a
they feel.
different
I'm
thing,
not
right?
talking about how they
Wait,
feel.
the
I'm
way
talking
they-
about them
you
being
guys
able
are
to
so
take
stuck.
action on it.
You guys are so stuck
What
on
do
this
you
action.
mean we're
the
so
action,
stuck?
The action is literally
The
just
action
the
is what's
extreme.
wrong.
The action is the extreme. You guys are stuck. The
You've been
idea of the
talking
action is
about
the
it this
point.
entire
I'm
fucking
not
time. Is
stuck.
the
It's the
action?
extreme of it.
The feeling is
if we
wrong.
had a society where we decided, like, yeah, we could set up a system where we could punish these people justly, we could find out really clearly that these people committed those crimes, and then like
You
we could-
literally
we could-
just said earlier, victims
Yeah.
should be able to take
Yeah,
revenge
if we-
against
if we
person
had-
that
if
does
we set
something
up the
wrong to them.
systems in place-
Okay,
if we
and
set
that
up the
wasn't even
systems
in the
place-
case of you saying that this person has done something repeatedly.
No,
you were
if
just
we set
you
up
had
these
just stated
systems in
this.
place-
So hang on, wait. Okay, so in this case, someone's falsely accused.
Mhm.
It's found out. Then you're saying it's okay to then repeat another cycle of saying,
Yeah.
hey, well, these people
Okay.
thought, hang on, wait, you've had plenty of time to talk. Okay. So then when all these people throughout the trial, they're like, oh, well, with all the evidence that was presented, we thought it was okay. So, but then it's okay for that person to say, hey, well, you know what? I want to take revenge because they fucked my life over. Even though they were, say, let's justify it in their actions at that time being. You're still okay
Yes.
with repeating
If
that
we
awful
had the
fucking
proper
cycle?
system in place, yes. If we created a society where we
How
set
is
up the
that a
systems-
proper system then?
if we-
It's just
if we
creating
set-
more problems.
I love this. I love this. Congratulations. If we set up a proper system in place where we could, yes, find out if these people committed these crimes, and then two, we're already going to lock them away, then who cares? Sometimes things fall through the cracks.
And
we don't
who
make these
cares?
laws for the
But
cracks.
he's
right?
the empathetic
When-
one, gang. Who
when we
cares?
kill
But yeah,
people-
I have
when
the
we-
most empathy.
When we
Yeah.
fucking kill people in prison, like we don't sit there and think
I
about
wanna-
every
I wanna
person
give-
being completely
I wanna
innocent,
give
right?
Elder Drazi his
Some
chance.
people
Elder
fall through
Drazi's
the
been
cracks,
waiting.
and when they fall through the cracks, we try to have like some remedy, right? We'll pay the family off. Usually what we'll do is we'll probably just try to hide it. But like the reality is we try to do something to remedy it. I don't know what you're trying to give me. A hypothetical where like, yes, what if something falls through the cracks? Congratulations, something fell through the cracks. If we had a system in place where like we had already set up all the structures for like you
Place.
could get
Your
that reverse
system in
punishment.
place
If we
is
could-
talking
if we-
about getting revenge, okay? Revenge
people-
doesn't work in these cases. It doesn't work. So revenge just won't work.
Okay, but I already
Allowing
said the
victims
real.
to
Did you forget the second part where we were getting to, where I said the real practical part of it is like we probably need to have some type of like rehabilitation structure in place. But if these people are still committing crimes, even with the rehabilitation, even with all this, I don't give a shit about these people. If there's somebody who is in prison unjustly, it really sucks, but that happens, right? Our goal is to just try to make like
Okay, so then
close
where's
up
But
where's the
FK,
land in the
FK.
where's that line in the sand then? At what point are you going to be okay? Like, yeah, it's okay now for the victims to take revenge.
Yeah. If somebody was arrested, right, because they've done enough bad things, and then let's say they were like a horrible rapist, and we had enough proof. Sometimes
Okay.
there might be things that fall through the cracks. If we set up a really like the reality is there's probably not like
Okay.
studies that
What if
it's good
what
for
if
the
it's
victims.
someone? What if it's someone that this is their first time, like they've ever unalive someone,
Mhm.
and then the victims are like, I want my revenge.
Yeah, we probably just decide on like how bad is that person? Has that person done enough harm that like we could just get rid of them and allow the
So we
victims
need
to?
what we need to do
If
is
it's
we need
if
to
it's
have a catalog of their entire life and what they've done, and if you've stolen something,
That's
have you?
kind of how
They're
crimes
like,
work, right? Isn't that kind of how we charge people? We
so
look at all the bad things that they've done in like a period that we can account for, and then we like punish them for those amount of bad things. If there's somebody who's killed over
Okay.
300 people,
so
at
Calling
some
the
so
point,
flag.
but they get
I'm
punished for
throwing an
Okay.
those
audible.
things at
I'm
that
throwing an
point.
audible, gang. I'm calling an audible, throwing a flag.
Okay.
This is an impasse. I don't think we're getting past this. I want to give Eldrazi a chance. Eldrazi, go ahead.
Thank you. Everything that you have talked about tonight has been on the basis of that the people that do bad things throw away their humanity. This is one of the worst ideas that you can possibly put out there to people. It is what the people who do the worst things throughout history always do. They're not people, they're animals. It's okay that we did this. When you do this at the individual level, when you think that somebody is deserving of things because they're not even human anymore, you are allowing yourself to have terrible things arise in you and not recognize them because of course you are human. When you say that that murderer, you dehumanize a murderer, you can start to do things that are going to lead you towards the path of murder and dismiss them entirely because I'm a human. I'm a good person. I would never do that. So you can start taking those steps and think that that's not going to be me. You could start taking steps to abusing a child and
saying
think,
that.
well, that's not me, because people that do that are scum. They're not human. I'm human. I'm a good person.
No.
You have to recognize that the people that do bad things are people, just
No
like
shit.
you
Well,
are.
No, I said that. Go
You
ahead.
have said that
I'll say
they
it
throw
after.
away their humanity.
Ice Beans, go.
There-
I'll say
also
something.
the other thing too is that like I mean I think I mean I don't agree with much of your premise here, FK, but like I think that
Yeah.
the other problem though is that you agree that those examples that you provided earlier, you agree that they would qualify as being dehumanized and they deserve to have terrible things happen to them, but you also say that like the system we have now is A, not perfect, and also B, it doesn't rehabilitate
Well,
people.
to clarify,
Like,
those people that I mentioned, even outside of that system that wasn't meant to rehabilitate them, they acted horrible enough that I don't think it matters. Those like some of those people were like completely separate. But
no, but here's the
oh,
thing
go
though.
ahead.
Here's the thing though. The problem is like in this system of yours, I feel
Mhm.
like there are going to be people who don't deserve that. Who don't deserve that level of torture and whatever. It happens to them because our system isn't perfect. Because like their rehabilitation is shit, and also because like, maybe they're black and in a poor neighborhood can't afford a lawyer and
Mhm.
shit. And so they get like convicted. And then
Yeah,
they
it
get
probably
raped in prison and we think, oh yeah, okay, because like you think you know what he did. You think he like killed a kid or whatever, and then you're like, yeah, fuck him, like he deserves to
yeah.
be gang raped or
It
whatever.
probably wouldn't be good to allow it immediately, right? But my idea is like if we create a better
Not
system
immediately.
and
Over a
people
rough time,
wait,
though.
wait, if we create a better system and people still tend to act this way, I don't see a problem with these people being dehumanized. The issue is you're saying like I view everybody as a human. Even these monsters are humans, right? But the issue is every human can become a monster. The way we do that is by our actions. If somebody keeps doing enough actions that they hit that threshold of monster, and that threshold is pretty subjective, but I think the reality is like everything kind of is subjective and we have to decide over time like what that threshold is going to be. I'm sorry, but like they become a monster. They become something that like resembles a human but doesn't fit how we act
You
with each
just
other.
said you don't do this. You just said that in response to me. You said
Wait,
you don't dismiss people's
because they're
humanity.
that's what I mean by dehumanize. I said they're still a human. They
That's
still
what-
have like the capacities of a human. They could still maybe do some good things, right? Even the worst monster could maybe do really good things. I said multiple times. You could play it
Okay,
back.
then
I think
don't
it was
use
like
that
4
excuse to
times that I
dismiss
said-
what I'm
I
saying.
think it was like 4 times that I said people can do a lot of really good things and they build up themselves as a good person. People can do a lot of really bad things and they build up themselves as a really bad person. Like these fucking monsters that I was reading off, right?
Then I just don't think that you understood the concern that I had for you then.
I will ask this. Do you think there's a substantive difference in your ideal justice system? Would it be better to simply remove people by putting them in cages and throwing away the key? Or would there be any substantive difference between that and putting them in a torture room where the whole time they were
No.
tortured? There would be no substantive
It
difference.
really does, like, because the way I view it is if we're throwing away the key, if we're killing these people, who cares? Like, these people are already worthless to us. Anything else that comes out of it doesn't like really matter for me. Like, what happens to them shouldn't be that much of importance. What's more of importance is how the victims are feeling. How
I just
everyone
don't
else is
know.
feeling.
I don't know where else to go with this, gang.
Yeah, it's just repeating the same stuff over and over again at this point.
Anyone else want to give it a go? Anyone else want to give it a try?
I mean, I think that
getting-
like I'm not gonna go down this specific line, but also like I think that I can see where y'all are coming from with like essentially the actions being yeah, and I can kind of see essentially how like it can like engaging that part of it is like engaging with the part of you that likes to gossip, right? Probably not good long term for like society. It like, and I think that's what I'll agree to.
Okay. I wanted to give Falsers here a chance. Falsers.
Yeah, I'm
You've
gonna
been molding a
backtrack
little bit, so I wanted
quite
to
a
give you
bit.
a chance.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to backtrack quite a bit here because I was pretty surprised that the panel just glossed over the fact that you were comfortable with like potentially killing a 7-year-old. That was pretty bizarre to me. So my question for you, and you probably know where this is going, and that's okay too, is do you think that the punishment for people is relevant to their understanding of what they've done?
I'm gonna be honest. It probably is, but like the reality is, there's some people who do enough bad things. Like those 2
No,
little kids.
I don't need like the caveat
those
after.
those 2 little kids were the perfect example, right? They killed a disabled kid, grow up, one of them becomes a pedophile, and he's arrested again. The
I'm
other
not
one is
going
still
down
in,
like the
witness
specific
protection.
hypothetical.
Yeah, I'm fine with them being punished if they're doing enough fuck shit, even at a young age.
FK.
That's probably
Okay.
indicative of something else.
Before we go on too far, Ice Beams, thank you for the reminder. Before we make it a totally open panel, I do want to give outros to those who need it and things like that. But then we will open it up. I know a few people went in to talk, but I wanted to give the people who were originally on the panel a chance to have their shill their stuff. So apologies, Falser, if we have to put you on pause for a minute, but that's what we're gonna have to do. We'll start with Elder Drowsy. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Elder Drowsy. Sorry about all my weird camera stuff. Somebody came by to help me, and I don't know what they did, so I had to change a bunch of stuff on the fly. You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. That's pretty much it. And I do have to dip out. I gotta go take my wife to the dog
Understood.
sitters.
We'll hold the
And
fort
thank
down.
you.
Elder
And it was
Drowsy,
nice
thank
to
you for
meet
being here.
everybody
meeting you,
except for
Bye.
just average FK. You're gonna give me fucking nightmares.
Hey, check him out, gang. Ice Beams, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean I think I could be I think I could be moved on my position a little bit that like like should we be doing this, like I think I can agree that maybe like okay, yeah, if you think that Andrew Tate should die of cancer, like maybe don't like fucking tweet on do it on Twitter. I don't know if I'll be so pressed to go forward and say like that I should make it like a crusade, like that or not a crusade but like essentially a cultural shift. I don't know that that's necessarily realistic, even if all we're doing is essentially shaming people for doing it. Because realistically, like I mean, try telling that to Twitch poll. Like try telling people to not follow like when or and laugh and call Destiny a Giga Chad when he like dunks on someone, right? So I think that like I think I might engage in it sometimes. Maybe I'll keep it more to myself this time. But yeah, that's kind of where I've landed on it. I don't know about all of this like torture and rape stuff. Like this is like off the fucking charts for me, dude.
It's what it leads to. It's what it
Yeah.
leads to.
Mhm.
But thank you for being here, Ice Beans. Really appreciate it. I put her link in chat. Go follow her, gang. Next up, FK.
Hi, I'm just average FK. Um, no, like the reality is, right? I'm being very hyperbolic with a lot of the crazy shit I'm saying, but like, it's to get the point across. People have these feelings. This is how people feel about it, right? If somebody has done enough bad things, then like, if something really bad happens to them, I don't think the average person is genuinely going to care. I don't think they should care. I don't think it's on us to like worry about people who have already done like things to completely remove themselves from our idea of humanity. It's on them though. If they want to get back into the fold, they got to work towards that. You could catch me anywhere at Just Average FK. I be hosting fucking AMAs on politics. I did one with a high school history teacher recently that was really fun, and I did one with Uncensored China Uncensored. So that was dope.
If you guys like what he has to say or just want to hear more of him, I put his link in chat as well. Thank you for being here and being honest about your positions. Lactoid, please.
The empirical data shows that this is all bad. Revenge is bad. Vindictiveness is bad. We've all met vindictive people. They tend to be the worst people. There's a reason why cultures that emphasize vindictiveness and revenge, an eye for an eye, tend to be the most uncivilized, backwards cultures, and cultures that don't tend to be much more civilized and advanced and better in every way. So I think the argument just on the empirics is clear. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks.
Well, thank you for being here, and I appreciate you coming by. Give him a follow, gang. He's great. Thank you. Miss Millie, please.
Hi, I'm Miss Millie. You can check me out at Miss Millie, Miss_Millie on Twitch. I also have gotten into editing videos, so if you're looking for someone to do that, check me out. Come let me know. But yeah, again, I just wholeheartedly agree with FK. You know, I think he needs to probably get checked by a therapist. But yeah, that's my stance. So if you're looking for an editor, come hit me up.
Miss Millie, you're great. You're wonderful. Thanks for being here. Check her out. The second link, I mistyped it the first time. So get that second link. That's where you can find her. Give her a follow. And with that, if you would like to stay, you're welcome to. We'll probably go another hour or so. But if you have to bounce, I get that. And with that, Falsers, I'm sorry for making you wait. Continue with your line of questioning.
No problem at all. FK. So
Yeah.
I normally try not to like cut people off, and I was trying to cut you off a little bit, but I want to tell you why. Because every time you give an answer, and you just said it in your outro, you put a comma and then you insert this really hyperbolic extreme situation behind it, and in that, it just shows the lack of realism in your worldview and how useful it isn't. Right. So if you're going to agree with me that the understanding of what someone has done is relevant to how we should treat it, then it is absolutely crazy to ever say, hey, let's go revenge murder a child, because children's brains are not developed. They don't have the understanding of what they're doing, the consequences of them, their impact on the world, how it impacts, the relationships around them, their own life. They don't understand any of that. And there is so much responsibility, particularly with children, that rests upon parents and the world in which they grew up in and the perspectives and experiences they've had. And you completely ignore that when you take retribution on the child.
That's really nice, but there are cases
It's not nice.
where
It's
children
useful.
can be treated. That's really nice, but there's cases where children get treated as adults based on how heinous what they did was. So I'm sorry, but like,
There
there's
shouldn't
things that
be.
children.
Well, there's cases where
No,
people
because
get
there are,
raped
because
too,
there's
but that
things.
doesn't make it right.
Wait, Lactoid, you're a lawyer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but even in those cases, those children get put through like psychological examination to figure out if they can be tried as an adult. And sometimes we find out that some of these kids who've done these really fucked up things are developed in ways they're undeveloped in other ways, but they're
No.
developed in ways that could like prove that they should be treated as
So
an adult.
the
sometimes.
worst.
Wait, okay.
the-
Why do we actually treat these as kids, as adults
No,
sometimes?
it is actually unironically just like vindictive bullshit. So I think the most clear example is actually there was the Slenderman stabbing cases, the Slenderman stabbing case, where two 12-year-old girls, 12 years old, attempted to stab their friend to death because they believed Slenderman commanded them to do so. She lived, So nobody died. She made a full recovery, but they were tried as adults for attempted murder, and they're at 12 years old. I think that if you're trying a 12-year-old for like as an adult, we've basically just we're making a mockery of the concept of juvenile justice. Right? A 12-year-old is not an adult for any other reason, but for some reason for this, where there's an exception, they're actually an adult now. It
Lactoid,
makes
I
no
agree
sense.
with everything you're saying, but it's not even worth discussing. Let's recap. FK, I gave you an ethical and a logical reason, both, of why this is wrong. And your rebuttal was, well, this happens. That neither provides an ethical standard or a logical standard
No, my
for your
logical
point of
standard.
view. You're just saying, well, sometimes kids get tried as adults. That's
Yeah,
not proof
because
of
they should.
anything being
Sometimes they probably should be.
useful or moral.
If they have
Hey,
if they have a long record.
stop. FK, you gotta let him finish, and then you can respond. You will have ample time, but you gotta let him get it out. Falsers, get it out.
No worries. He can go ahead. He can go ahead on that. I don't
Yeah.
want to stack.
If they have a long record, they could probably be tried, right? If they have a propensity towards these actions, they should probably be tried. Now, if they get punished, whatever happens, however people feel about it, that's on them. If somebody killed my kid and it was a little fucking kid and I want to kill that kid, it makes sense. They killed my kid. I don't care that it's a kid. Sometimes really fucked things can happen from like people we wouldn't expect it from. But
Can we draw a distinction in what you're saying though? Because
Yeah.
wanting to do something and then
No,
advocating for it are
even
different
if-
things, right? I feel rage all the time
It's
in
not just
my
rage.
life, and I push that down and I act in a reasonable way.
It's not just rage.
Because you're
Sometimes-
civilized.
Sometimes these kids will have a propensity to commit more violence, right? Now we have two options here. We can either one, put them in a system where we constantly monitor them so they don't do it, or two, we could treat them as fucking kids and then we let them out and then we get cases like that one kid, like those two kids that like murder a disabled child. One of them grows up and becomes a pedophile. Like we could end up back in that position.
Or
which
we
is
could
fine, I
torture them,
guess.
right?
Do you remember when we came back after the outros, I said that you put a comma and then a hyperbolic situation
That's
right
not,
after every point?
but that's like
Hold on,
the
no,
real
no.
situation.
You just did it. You said, what if they grow up to be a pedophile? What if I
Yeah,
didn't kill the
because
kid
guess
and he
what?
grows
These
up to be
kids
a
that are doing
pedophile?
fuck shit
You
as
don't-
kids
you don't
probably
think
do
that's
fuck shit as
hyperbolic?
adults. If a
Hold
kid
on.
was raping someone as a little
FK.
kid, what do you think they're doing as an adult? Being a
FK, do you
completely
think the
functioning member?
prescription for not killing them is to not do anything at all? No one's saying leave them in society. No one's saying they shouldn't be removed and rehabilitated
If
or
this kid
imprisoned
shows
or,
that they can't be
or any of
rehabilitated,
that.
what do you do?
Say again.
If this kid shows it's not being rehabilitated, what do? Do you just sit
Keep
there
them
and
in
like
prison.
continue to? That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that point,
Absolutely,
I
that's
don't
it.
see a difference. I'd rather like it's not much of a difference between
You
locking
don't
them
see a
away for their
difference
life or
between
killing them off.
imprisonment and murder?
No, because we're putting them away for the rest of their
That's
life. I would even think that
absurd.
imprisonment is like worse, to be honest.
There's
We're
a
taking, like,
chance they
somebody-
could rehabilitate.
Okay,
right?
I'm going to repeat it because I want you to answer that
There's a
again.
chance anyway.
I want everybody to hear this.
Exactly.
You don't see a difference
That's
between
pointless, like-
imprisonment and murder.
You just said there's a
No,
you
I
just said there's a
don't- I don't
potential
think-
anybody could
wait,
rehabilitate, right?
If somebody, if I'm talking about life-term sentences, right? If this person is constantly showing themselves, I just said you could play it back. I said if they show themselves not to be rehabilitatable, if they can't get rehabilitated, there might be always like this possibility, simple chance.
There's
But I
always.
don't care about that 0.1%. I care about if
That's
this
great.
person is
So-
constantly showing in their actions that they're not going to be rehabilitated. At that point, if we put them in prison for life or put a bullet in their head, it's not much of a difference.
Love it. Love it. So if people that are doing 40 years for financial crimes and they're 50, should we just go ahead and kill them?
Honestly, maybe. It's like the same. I said for the
Okay,
Golden State,
all right.
the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer.
Where's
Bro,
the line? Are we going to
the
differentiate
Golden
by
State Killer,
crimes or are
bro,
we just going to
70
kill
and
everybody?
No,
that's got
there
a
is
prison
no line.
lifestyle?
Just
Bro,
kill them all.
Oh my
It's-
God.
The Golden State Killer is 70, and they arrested him for what? Lifetime? At that point, kill him. There's SS officers who are arrested at like 90 and 95. Who cares about these people? Why are we like taking our time to go through this? Like, well, you know, we're just gonna put them in prison. Who cares? If we're putting them in prison, remove them. If we're deciding like we're gonna keep them here forever, what's the point? Like
I have an
I
answer
don't
to your
wanna keep them
question.
in a cage. I'd rather get
I'm
rid of
guessing you're pro death penalty.
them. Very much.
Yeah.
Oh, you think
I have
so?
an answer to your question because you keep doing this like arbitrary thing where you hand wave it away and you say, "Who cares?" The people that they have
No, they
relationships
don't.
are going to hold on.
But
You
fuck
just
them.
said we should murder people that do financial crimes. Those people have families. Those people have all sorts of ripples that are going to happen if we just kill all these people. And not only the direct consequences, but by promoting philosophy like this, if you were to implement that into society on any level of scale, you would have so many negative outcomes, and not just the moral ones where people are getting killed for no reason. There are financial outcomes, there are economic outcomes. No one wants to build a business in a place where you can just murder someone for revenge, and that's okay. That's called The Purge, and they made a horror movie about
Or
it,
the
and it
death
didn't go
penalty,
well.
which we've just set an arbitrary threshold that we can continue to move.
You're setting an arbitrary threshold. It's
It
not
seems like
arbitrary in the
wait,
real world
is
because
the
we
death
don't
penalty
promote
not an arbitrary
vigilantism.
threshold? Where's the like death penalty that you find in nature that this is like something that we can like hardcore prove? Or is it something that we've come up with because we've decided like, yeah, some things are really good, some things are really bad. If you do enough really bad things, we get rid of you.
FK, there are birds in nature that eat their babies if they're too skinny. Nature isn't a very good point for
And
how we
did you
should
not
develop a moral system.
so for somebody who was talking about not answering a question, did you not hear that? Or, like what happened?
Repeat it, I'll answer it again.
Yeah, where's the hardcore arbitrary, like where's the non-arbitrary point that the death penalty is? Or is it an arbitrary standard we've set in place?
I don't believe in the death penalty.
Okay. That's fine.
So
If you don't believe in it, but, like, I mean,
my point
it
is,
seems
so
like
he doesn't
it
have to
seems
draw
like
a
you're in the
line,
minority
right?
because we got it. Like we're doing it. It seems like
Not
for
all
some reason.
states.
Okay,
it seems
you
like for
keep
some reason,
doing
a
this
lot of
thing.
people
No.
accepted
You
this.
keep doing this where
But
you
it's on
say
you guys
you're
to
in the
prove against us.
minority,
You're
so
in
your
the
point
minority.
is
Fight me on
valid.
this.
What does that have to do with anything? I don't
Because it's
care
on you
if
guys to
a
say it's not
majority
valid.
of people
That's not
think
how
the
it works.
world is flat. It does not change the fact of the
But
matter.
that's not the
Like
case
this
here. It's
appeal
not
to
just the world is
majority.
flat.
This appeal to majority is just
It's not
it
just the
doesn't
world
do
is flat.
anything. There's just
It's
nothing
not.
there.
But it's not just the world is flat. You guys are trying to come in here. You guys are looking at humanity. You guys are saying like what you guys are doing right now is wrong, but you're saying it's on me to prove to you guys that I'm wrong. No, what we're doing is fine. If somebody's useless, if somebody's like proven that they're like a menace to our society, get rid of them. It's on you guys to be like, well, we shouldn't get rid of them for XYZ reason.
No
but you
one
guys
is
can't give
saying
a
not
good
to get
reason.
rid of them.
But-
We're saying, hey,
wait.
we probably shouldn't get a hard on and come when we torture them.
You guys
Wait,
are saying
can
get a
I-
hard on and come. You can get happy when somebody gets fucked over because they're a horrible person.
FK, for someone
Can
who
I-
has such an edgy viewpoint, I'm surprised that you take issue with the fact that you
Bro,
have to
because I
provide a
have an
basis.
uncle.
Hold on,
I have an
but you have
uncle
to
who's
provide a
abused his
basis for
family.
them.
Bro,
And
because
you're
I have an uncle
challenging the
who I've
panel for
seen-
asking you to
Bro, because-
explain your basis.
No, because I've seen this. I've watched people do fuck shit. I have an uncle who's like raped his wife, abused his family, right? Like destroyed his family. He's gotten like people to the point of like suicide. He's broken these people to like shells of people. His wife is now like severely mentally ill. She walks around talking to walls. Like I don't know what you want me to say. When people do things like that, I can't view that person anymore as like you are just a normal human. I view that person as if there is a hell, I hope you're there. I hope even if it's not happening in this life, I hope you're getting the worst outcomes because you aren't somebody who deserves happiness. You aren't somebody who like deserves love. Even if those people who you've abused can look at you and be like, I love you, you don't deserve that. What you deserve is like worse than just living.
Hey, I'm going to defend you a little bit here, and I hope you'll let me finish, because there are a lot of people in the chat and throughout the course of this discussion. A guy compared you to a pedophile at some point. That was fucking weird, by the way, whoever that guy was. That was way too far. I don't think you're a bad person, FK. I think a lot of the things you're saying are human reactions, right? I think it's natural to feel angry and violent towards really heinous shit that happens, particularly if it happens in direct proximity to you. And I don't think that's a necessarily morally wrong thing. I think it's a natural thing. I think the moral component comes in with how we choose to deal with those things. And I also think there's a level of how useful are certain reactions, both at the personal level and at the societal level. And the problem I take with your stance is I don't think it either plays out morally if you walk it all the way down, or in terms of utility, right? So when we talk about empathy and you say, well, it's empathetic to kill these people, that's a pretty big skew for one. But there's a lot of utility in actual
I
empathy.
said if the victim wants it.
But you can't make the victim the arbiter for all the outcomes, because that's a very subjective and variable outcome depending on the victim, right? Like what if the victim decides, hey, I'm actually a big fan of rape and I would like to see my perpetrator rape someone else,
Based.
right? Like
Yeah.
Can I ask a
that's
question?
you can't
But the
like,
problem is
and you
that
say,
you
well,
can't.
that's a crime, we can't do that, but so is murder.
Wait, false was that? I think you came into this with like a really disingenuous framing of what FK said earlier, because when he was asked
Okay,
about the
Juan, repeat it.
7-year-old kid, it wasn't just like any normal 7-year-old kid. It was a 7-year-old kid who did what a toy box killer did, which is kidnap, rape, and murder. I think over a dozen women, right, with his girlfriend and his dogs. Right, so like, and over the course of months, by the way, this wasn't just a moment where he had a fucking manic breakdown or some shit. He kidnapped these people, tortured and raped them for months, right? So if a 7-year-old kid did that, was capable of that, I think it's fine to kill that kid. Absolutely.
It's not for two reasons. One, I think the example is beyond hyperbolic. You're not going to have a 7-year-old kid.
This is the
that's running-
example he was
Well,
given.
well, I
This is the
understand, I
example he was
understand.
given. He was
I'm going
responding
to get to that. I'm going to get
So
to
if
that.
you're gonna call him like
That's
like
literally what I
irrational,
I would love
said.
to-
or
It's a
responding
7-year-old
to
kid.
an irrational example, like well, fuck, you have a problem with the person who gave him.
I
the
would
hypothetical.
love to finish responding because I'm going to get to that. But one, we do need to establish that the example is completely unrealistic. Okay?
But
If we
you guys
then
are giving me completely unrealistic
let me
examples.
finish. Jesus Christ. If we then acknowledge that and we say, okay, let's still say it happened, right? The problem with your prescription for this is you start to get people, which the same gentleman that called you a pedophile started to outline this earlier, which it was a good point. You start to get people that use these things as excuses because the line in which you think it's appropriate to kill this 7-year-old is going to be different from you and every other person on this panel.
Yeah, it's why we have a legal
Right?
system. It's why I think it's up to like a group of people, including the victims, to decide what that line is.
So
But
FK,
you can't. You can't.
but you don't
you
agree
can't-
with the legal system because the legal system doesn't say victims should go
Did I
to the
not?
perpetrators.
Wait, I can argue that our legal system might shift a little bit, but I'm fine with it as it is now. I would hope that our legal system actually does the death penalty more often, personally. I think we probably have to lower that threshold. We just have to increase our fucking, what's the term? What's the term for like we have to increase our confidence in our if we're convicting the right
That's
people.
It's
so
like you don't wanna take a
hold on.
stand.
That's like the
Yeah.
most expensive fucking part, and that's
Yeah,
one of the
it is
reasons why.
expensive. I think we have to spend time on this. It's something.
Yeah,
we
I
should
guess
probably be
we
working
shouldn't put
towards.
anybody in jail ever because they might be innocent.
No, we
Like,
shouldn't.
it's
We should- we-
ridiculous
no, we
to
should
even
use-
point to that.
No, so
No
we
one's saying that.
Well,
No,
I mean,
it's
I'm
not
sort of
like
saying
I'm
we
saying that
should.
that is a
Never
logical
stated that.
conclusion of your complaint, Sir Lair.
It's
Right,
not.
so-
Blackwood, I don't see what the
No.
issue is here. If
There's
if we killed them
100%
off, there would be more bodies for your perfect ideal necrophilia fucking business.
No,
Lactoid, you're
no,
literally
I'm
in,
using
Lactoid,
them
you're
for
literally in favor of legal necrophilia and permanent
No,
slavery.
stop.
Like, and
Well, hold on.
suddenly you're like a
Well-
virtue signaling about this.
I'm not virtue signaling. I literally just appealed to the fact it's more expensive, right? Now, my personal prescription for this is I think people convicted of crime should be doing hard labor to reimburse their victims. I think that's the most cost-effective way of doing this. That we're not spending all this money on
What if the
housing them.
victims are all dead?
So make them
Well,
slaves
well,
instead of just torturing them.
Well, those victims still
Congrats.
have
Right, no,
families.
because again, the
What-
goal is not
Lactoid.
the goal is not to inflict pain. I'm not like a sadist. I'm not jerking off
No,
at the
you're
idea of
just
them
putting them
hurting.
in permanent
I'm just trying to
bondage.
get money out of them to help the victim.
Lactoid, wait, hold on.
I'm
Lactoid. Okay,
actually
so
way more empathetic.
this is
than
why
you guys.
this is why the real life examples that FK was giving you, like the Golden State Killer, was arrested in his fucking 70s when he hadn't killed anybody in decades, right? But he killed 55 people when he was active, right? This is why this is useful because you're not going to be able to get any money out of this guy working him to death, right? He's not going to do any slave labor.
So why?
He
Wait,
could
wait,
ba-
wait, but
he
why
could
should we spend
barely-
extra
please
money
stop,
killing him?
Please stop. He could barely stand, right? So what utility is gained by putting this man in jail ever?
Okay, the utility is literally less expensive. We're not spending as
I'm
many
asking
resources.
you, what is gained by putting him in jail?
He just told you.
Wait, hold on. So okay.
No, he didn't.
No,
He said it's
you-
less expensive than killing him. I'm
For
asking
killing
him,
him.
That's
what
utility.
is the utility of putting him in jail at all if he's
Eh, eh.
if he's 70 something years old and he hasn't killed anybody in
Yeah, why
decades and
not
he can
just
barely
let-
walk?
why just let
It's
it
He's
go?
not a
Right.
danger.
Wait,
I'll
I'll answer.
Real quick. Thank you for the raid, Cricket Style J. You guys should check him out. And thank you for the bits, Federer Methodist. You guys should give me more money.
Okay,
And I guess the question would be if the victims or families of false imprisonment or death penalty should celebrate the demise of FK for his monstrous cavalier attitude.
Federer has an IQ of 10. Okay, fuck Federer. But let me finish to the question. Okay.
Go ahead.
So given that the
I
Golden
understood
State
the
Killer
question.
was caught when he was in his mid to late 70s, right? He killed 55 people 30 years prior to that, right? So he hadn't killed anybody in a long time. Apparently rehabilitated himself, right? Had a family, had a wife, kids, grandkids, etc. Why should this person be punished? Given that he's been rehabilitated, apparently he's 70-something years old. You're not going to get any hard labor out of him. Why should he be in jail?
So I disagree that we couldn't get labor out of him. If it's true that he poses no risk and we really couldn't get labor out of him, then I would not put him in jail at all.
There
Hey,
wouldn't
real
be an
quick,
element of
real
harm
quick,
reduction.
hang
You
on.
put a guy who killed 55 people in
One
jail.
sec.
Not if
One
he didn't
sec.
pose any risk and
One
we can't
sec,
use him for
okay.
labor.
Go ahead, real quick.
I'm gonna head out. We got a little
Jeez.
one. I'm gonna go and put to bed. So
Bye, Millie.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
this
Bye,
is-
y'all.
Nice
You're
talking to you,
literally,
Millie.
Doobie. You're
This
literally.
is
hold on,
the
no, Doobie,
irony of your
Doobie.
fucking position.
No, it's
right?
not
So,
the- it's
so
not
you
the
are,
irony.
You are pretending to be a robot because you think it makes you more human, right? So the fact that you would tell
No,
me
you're a
that
slave to
there's
your
no
caveman brain.
because there's no like utility, quote unquote, in imprisoning a guy who killed 55 people, right? Raped and murdered 55 people because he's old and you can't get any man out of him. Well, hey,
55 people.
just let him live his
No,
life.
you're right.
It's
55 people.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So in your
You murdered and raped
society,
55 people.
in
I
your
get it.
society,
I'm
in
the
your
supervillain.
society, the way that you get out of the way that you're a successful serial killer is you get caught when you're really old.
Okay,
and then there's no
all right.
punishment apparently.
All right.
Oh, no,
Well, hold
it's even
on.
better, dude, because I'm a supervillain
my
because
God.
I say
No,
these
you
people who
are.
commit
You
these
are.
heinous- Wait, I say these people commit these heinous acts, so that I can't view them as people anymore. But Lactoid is a good guy because he's
I
saying
am.
these people commit these heinous acts. So
Yes.
instead, I put them into
You guys should
boxes.
let
Let me
Lactoid
respond,
answer.
Wick. Let me respond, Wick.
Doobie,
Well, Lactoid-
to just answer
let
your question.
Let
real quick.
Lactoid answer.
Okay,
Let
okay,
Lactoid
go ahead.
answer, and then you can
Yeah,
jump in.
I
and
need
then-
I need to respond to these lizard
Please.
cavemen. Okay.
Yes.
So first of all,
Amphibian, thank you.
Sure. So by being 70, you're not, even if we put you in jail, you're not going to receive the same punishment if we put you in jail when you were 20, right? I mean, really what you're going to do is get free healthcare and free food for a couple of years, and then you're going to die. Okay, sure. The worst thing ever. Whatever. I think that what this obsession with punishment, this like caveman lizard sort of like, oh, I must punish. I think it's uncivilized. I think it's actually, in this case, it's not only just like baseless and barbaric, it also just doesn't make like utility sense, right? You're spending money, you are wasting money, you're throwing away money that could go to help the victims recover, to make their
The
lives
victims
better.
are dead.
Or other victims that they weren't able to find their perpetrators. You could make people's lives better with that money, but instead to jerk off your inner sense of justice, you're going to throw a 70-year-old man in a cage because it gets you like uppity.
I
Like,
don't
No,
know,
no,
this is
hold on,
dumb
whoa,
shit.
whoa, whoa,
I'm saying
stop.
they're a waste. I'm saying get rid of them, kill them.
I-
Like,
yeah, I would say
Okay,
I would say
that's more
absolutely execute
expensive.
that guy.
That's more expensive.
Hold on. In the current system, it's more expensive.
Yes,
right?
because you got to prove they're not
absolutely
guilty,
an
or you got to
advocate.
prove they are
I'm
guilty.
There's tons of evidence that he's guilty. Fucking mountains. Of
Only
evidence that
because
he
we
did
spent a
this.
lot of money
He
discovering that evidence.
He has. Okay, so we shouldn't track down serial killers because it's expensive. Are you fucking like? Are you an
I'm
idiot?
not saying that
Like, what are you
because
saying?
they
Well,
pose
hold
a
on, you
risk.
said, oh, we spent a lot of money to find the evidence that he's guilty.
No,
so that's
no one's
so
saying
therefore,
that. Even
what the
even
fuck
your
are you saying?
initial question was absurd because you were like, "Well, what's the utility in putting him in prison at all?"
That is
It's
not
like
an
an
absurd question
obvious
based on the
harm
bullshit you
reduction
guys were
thing.
saying earlier.
It's harm
Okay,
reduction.
Okay,
not even just
whoa,
him.
stop,
A
stop, please.
95-year-old.
FK, stop,
Yeah, go
FK,
ahead,
stop.
go ahead.
So now Falsters disagrees with Lactoid. So Lactoid says there's no
No, I don't.
utility. Falsters says it's harm reduction. So
Harm reduction is
Lactoid,
utility.
Lactoid,
They're the
explain
same
why.
thing in this
Lactoid,
case.
explain, please. Lactoid, explain why the harm reduction argument for putting him in prison doesn't make any sense.
So
No,
here,
the utility
I'll
and
make
harm
it.
reduction are one
No,
and the
no,
same
just
here.
explain.
I'll make
Just
it.
explain.
I'll make it real.
Lactoid
Like,
says you shouldn't put him in prison.
I'll make it
You
like.
say you should because it's harm reduction. Okay.
Yes.
Why,
Okay.
why do you guys disagree?
Because if you can take that money that you're spending and putting them in prison and reduce harm, it is harm reduction.
Wait, hold on.
Crazy concept.
Falsters said that you should put him in prison because for harm reduction. You're saying
how do you
don't put
think
him
he's
in.
making money?
Please stop. You're saying don't put him in prison.
No.
Use the money that you would have spent to put him in prison
Yes.
to reduce harm somewhere else.
If he actually genuinely poses no risk.
To be super clear, you guys disagree with each other, right?
Sure. So, okay. No. So
No,
what I'm
you don't
guessing,
disagree.
Falsters
Don't
is
let,
trying
hey,
to
Doobie.
stop. Doobie's distracting us from the main
No,
point.
I'm not distracting. I'm cutting through the bullshit
Very
that these
big
guys are spewing.
distraction from the main point.
Cutting the bull-
Because no one is arguing. Like, the point is, should or shouldn't we put them in prison? That's not the point of the topic today. The topic today is, should we celebrate, right, the fact that we need to put them in prison? Like, we get to put them in prison. Hell yeah. I love that he's going to suffer.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, we should probably make him suffer more because it's
Yes, it's
fun
good
and
when they suffer.
exciting. That's
Yes.
the point of the discussion.
Okay, why
Okay, Doobie,
isn't
so
why
what's your-
isn't
what's your-
it?
what's your
Why
position?
isn't
Wait.
So-
The-
so-
the-
so
hold on.
okay,
The
I'm gonna
discussion.
answer
The
as-
discussion
oh,
was.
God.
Hold on. The
Yeah.
discussion was relevant because the idea of we have a 70-year-old man who poses. Let's just say I don't agree with this, but let's just say he actually poses no threat, and we cannot use him for labor. Let's just say this hypothetical old man. The only reason why you would throw him in a cage, or the only reason why you'd kill him, or the only reason why you do any of this, is to satisfy this sort of internal lizard caveman like revenge kind of porn fantasy that you have. This idea of like, oh, we got him, guys. That's
Lizard
like the
fantasy
only.
is the reason
That's the only
we're here.
reason. And this is exactly the same reason why people celebrate, like, oh, he got cancer. Like I fucking love, like, there's no actual reason.
Lactoid, your society is literally a fucking hellscape. Because
No,
all
my
you need to
society is
do-
what civilized societies are, not these backwards third world countries that you guys live in.
Lactoid, people celebrate because that's a threat that's been removed or is being removed from their environment.
I'm saying if he's no longer a threat.
If you are a prey and you see predators in your environment, you want those predators eliminated. So guess what? When these people are acting as predators in humanity, you want these predators weeded out.
That's
Okay,
not
maybe
always true, though.
maybe this is in answer to the, like, maybe this ties into like harm reduction done somewhere else. But the reason that I would agree that like the 7-year-old man should go to prison, even if I agree that he's like not gonna hurt anyone, it's the principle of the thing, right? Like basically, like and I mean I don't
that's just
agree
your
that
feelings,
this.
though.
Well, hold on. I don't agree that like it's the best thing to do. Like I'd rather see a like a rehabilitation society, but currently the system that we have right now is like you have to have some kind of deterrent, right? So that's the only reason why I'd say like, yeah, sure, he can go to prison, if only to tell future serial killers, hey, just because you get old doesn't mean that you won't face like justice.
I want to
Right?
address what
So
FK
that's
said
the-
very quickly.
so-
and I don't
so-
want to have to
so-
yell
so
over
Iceman, to be
somebody to get a
super
word in
clear-
edgewise. I don't want to
Oh,
have to yell
God.
over
Well,
somebody.
then
to
maybe
get a
don't
word in.
talk, right? Maybe wait till
Maybe
I'm done,
maybe
and then
maybe
you
no
can
one gets
talk.
to decide who
The
gets to
shrooms
talk and
wore
who
off.
doesn't get to talk but me. So I'm gonna let Falsers finish his
Great.
thought.
Thank you. I appreciate it. FK, you said just a moment ago that people do what in response to Lactoid, people do it because they're excited about the threat being removed. But it's not always just that, right? Because if Andrew Tate, tomorrow if it comes out that he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison and that threat is removed, right? If we agree he's a threat here, people are still going to celebrate if he has cancer. There's going to be tons of those.
Yeah.
Like Schadenfreude's a very real thing, happens all the
Yeah.
time. So what you said is not applicable to everything.
No, it is. These things aren't fully separate, right? It's not like because someone is suffering and slowly dying off, you're like, it's completely separate. Then we just arrested somebody and they're no longer in your environment. Guess what? Either way, you're happy that this person, something is happening to them that's not good, right? Either they died off, either they disappeared because they were arrested, either they're suffering and they're slowly going to die off. Either one of those things, something bad is happening, and your brain is telling you that's really fucking good. Because guess what? As people, as any animal, we don't like when a predator is in our vicinity. We don't like when we just allow these predators to continue to stay near us. If there is a predator, we want to get rid of it.
If Andrew Tate's in prison for the rest of his life, him having cancer doesn't change his proximity to you.
Guess what? It's still the same shit. If he's gonna die off, you're just as happy because that's another level of he's gonna be gone.
It's not. One is like a
I
petty
see a
enjoyment and
paradox
like
here.
the harm, and one is an excitement about the removal of the.
Bro, I don't like, you guys are differentiating this so weird, but like either way, if we lock him in prison and horrible shit happens to him in this is a Romanian prison. This guy's gonna get fucked up in there. Like either way, people are happy that he's fucked. Like he's done for.
Well, FK, there's a little bit of a paradox here because, like, at least from what I saw, people who are like vindictive tend to like pose more of a threat to society. And if we are okay with threats to society, we're okay being vindicated.
So
with
is
them
everyone
dying.
a threat? Is everyone like the same level of threat as these people we've been naming off, including Andrew Tate? Because guess what? Almost every person is kind of vindictive. Almost every person, when something bad happens to them,
Everyone's one bad day from climbing the clock tower. I mean, that is a saying. Everyone is one bad day from climbing that clock tower.
That's the point. Is
You
you guys
say
keep
clock
saying
tower?
this. The point
Clock
is you guys
tower.
keep saying like
A clock,
everyone is
not a cock.
vindictive. Or you
Clock.
guys keep saying like if everyone acts like this, then everyone's
be
just gonna
weird.
start killing off each other. Everyone's gonna do all these bad things to each other that the serial killers do. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
That does.
What
That
seems to be-
happens. That's happened
No.
again and again and again on national scales, on societal scales. We have groups of people numbering in thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that are either okay with it happening or participate in it happening, of whatever
Wait.
group they have decided there's D-humans and D-persons
But again,
of doing
you're
terrible
Can I
comparing
things.
two
please-
different things.
No,
I'm
hold
not
on, please.
talking-
Can I say something, please? I'm
Yeah.
begging you, please. So, Wick, there are SS fucking Nazi guards who are being prosecuted today, right? Being put in prison today, 101 years old, 90-something years old, for shit that they did during the Holocaust. Do you think that these guys, given that they participated in the murder of hundreds of thousands, millions of people, right, in their fucking death camps. Do you think that they shouldn't be punished because they happen to be old when they get caught because
course
they managed
not.
to escape? Then
Of
okay,
course
then stop.
not.
Then Wick, why aren't you just as vindictive as okay? Why
Because
aren't you
I'm
saying,
not
hey,
okay with
put this
torturing
old
them.
man,
I think
this
there are
old man
lines
who's
and
not a
levels
threat
of
to
punishment
anybody?
that are unacceptable, and FK says
Why?
no. We can
Why is
literally
it
do, and we've
acceptable?
asked him before. Doobie, stop. We've asked him before. He thinks you can literally do anything to them.
If we
And
can
I
kill
have
them,
lines.
I don't know what the in between
Wick,
is. Like
why?
everything in
Wick,
between seems like
No,
just as
but
like even less
Wick,
than
why?
killing them.
Wick, why is it acceptable to put a 100-year-old man in prison for shit that he did 50, 60, 70 years ago?
I think that there is utility in showing that society will punish bad actions no matter how long it takes. I think that there is some
Accountability.
utility in that. I do think, right?
Even though he's
That
not a threat, even though
yes,
they've been
even though he's not a
rehabilitated.
threat, I do think that's
Okay, so why isn't
because
that?
that,
Why
that
isn't that
that's
just
but
your
that
fifi?
doesn't
At that
mean
point, at that
I
point, you're
should
just
be
being
happy
vindictive.
about it because
Yeah,
I'm
why
not
isn't that just
happy
your
about
He's a
it.
fifi?
threat.
Nor
Hold
does
on.
that mean I should celebrate it because I don't celebrate it.
Then why
It
do
is
it
a
in the first place?
necessity, just like wiping my ass is a necessity, but I don't get all weird about it and I don't
This
get
isn't wiping our
No,
ass.
celebration.
this
I
is
don't
really important.
celebrate it.
This
There's a
isn't
really
wiping our
important
ass. People
distinction to
die
draw
every
here.
day that
Hold
don't
on.
get caught.
He's a
It's not
threat.
like we need to get these people. We
No,
could
no.
just leave them out. We could let them continue on their day.
Hold on. Doobie,
Hey, wait.
Doobie said that he wasn't a threat, and that's not true. And this goes into what Wick is saying. Him physically being a threat doesn't make him a non-threat, right? Because the threat is if you don't hold him accountable, there is messaging behind that people infer, right? So if you don't
Oh,
hold that person
interesting.
accountable for that crime, the threat is I could say, hey, all I've got to do to get away with murder is kill someone and get away with it for 30 years,
What
and
does it
by
mean to
then,
hold them
Interesting.
accountable?
fine, right?
Lactoid, why do you disagree with that?
There's a threat of consequences behind that go
Lactoid, why
beyond
do you
that
disagree with
person.
that? Lactoid, why is he wrong about
It's
that?
obvious, Doobie, and you know it too.
Why?
Why?
Because this justifies torture.
Falsers, did you just justify torture? Is that true?
It does not justify torture.
But I'm just holding them accountable. But you guys just have a different sense of
No,
what
there are
accountability
different
is.
ways of
You
holding.
guys think
No,
your version of
don't be
accountability is
weird.
better
Don't
than
be weird.
mine.
Okay, this is just such brain
Okay.
rot. This is
Yeah,
such
no, okay,
brain
listen.
rot.
I
Like
think that
obviously, I could say if my kid, right, does something wrong, I should punish that kid, but you would judge me based on the type of punishment I deal out. If I put him in timeout and grounded him from video games, that's very acceptable.
Yeah, but if
But
your
if I
kid did the
beat the
toolbox
shit
killer
out of
murders,
him, that's obviously not okay.
right,
So Lactoid-
right?
right. But if your kid did the toolbox killer murders and somebody beat the shit out of their kid because they found out the kid was doing horrific, horrible things to people, would that be surprising that they beat the kid because they found their kid?
You're
having
asking, would it be
a dog rape a
surprising?
woman?
No. Would it be acceptable? No.
It depends on the circumstance.
It's
I
pretty
think in some
acceptable.
places it would be acceptable. Yeah.
Can I make an appeal?
So,
real
but
quick?
Lactoid,
Wait,
so Falser
yes.
says he didn't just justify
Please.
torture. Lactoid, how did he
Doobie,
justify torture?
I don't want to be here too long.
Well, you
I-
guys are all pretending that you have the same position, and you don't. You guys are fucking
No, I'm sure we
contradicting
have
each other
pretending we have the
several. I'm
same
sure we have
position.
different
That kind of
positions.
what we were
contradicting each other
talking
You're a team
constantly,
when
and then just
opposing
avoiding
you.
each other.
No, Doobie.
Doobie, we weren't even talking about that
I
at
want
the
to give.
time. The
Stop.
conversation has shifted. If
So
we have to
Falser's
disagree now,
you're
that's
apparently
fine.
pro torture.
Stop. I want to give Sign a chance. Sign's been very quiet. Sign, you have your floor right now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Boy.
I don't want to take up too much time. I just
Big
want
time.
to make the appeal that I listened to this panel for 2 hours, and I think 10 minutes of it was spent discussing the topic. I think I would love to see this panel be made again, where it's not immediately sent to the most extreme position that you could ever fucking come up with. I think that there were some interesting things that were discussed that.
Okay, are
weren't
you here to
able
critique the
brought up.
panel?
No, well, it's
This
an
is just a
appeal
critic.
to-
I
I'm
think he's
bringing it
pro
up as
clutching, like
well.
you guys were just a
right?
bit ago.
So, Wick, I'm actually curious about this. and
Oh,
why I
we're the
brought it
pro
up.
clutchers.
You said that
Yeah,
mocking
you are.
Mm.
directly leads
55.
to dehumanization and why
It-
people commit the evil
it-
that they do.
Not mocking in general. Mocking when bad things are happening to them. That is the mocking. Because again, if you mock when they say something stupid, that's fundamentally different, right? I think that there are different styles of mocking. Yes.
Okay, so when something bad happens to you, how do you distinguish between mocking something bad happening and I'm curious why you believe that, because
Sure.
you could say someone saying something stupid could easily be them like fucking up, especially if it's in a public place. Bad things can happen from that. They're all interconnected, in my opinion.
So I think there's a substantive difference between mocking what someone does and mocking what is done unto someone. I think there's different things, and we can delineate that pretty clearly. If you are doing something and it's mockable, by all means, right? If you are advocating for shitty of torturing children, that should be mocked, and we will mock you for it. But if you get cancer, right, that is something that happened to you, and no, it should not be mocked.
Could you mock Andrew Tate for smoking as much as he does?
For being a smoker, sure.
Hmm. And if those actions directly led to the consequences that he's facing?
We can understand that he got cancer because he smoked, and we can mock him for being a smoker, but you cannot mock him for having cancer. That's too far.
Would you mock like a smoker for
What,
getting
but
cancer?
what if it
Yeah,
was
that's a good
easier?
question. Would you mock someone who smoked for getting cancer?
That's brutal.
I don't really engage in that, but I don't functionally see a difference. That's the main thing.
Okay, well, I do. One is something you're doing. One is something that's happening to you.
Would you mock like a
I
fat
feel like I
person
could-
slips and falls? Like we're gonna laugh at them, mock them, that broke their leg.
Depends on the context. If
Look,
they're a bad person, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wait, so I feel like I could give you a delineation here on how like I think about this. Like we could look at the situation right now in Ukraine with those soldiers from Russia who are going into Ukraine, right? I feel bad for them. I recognize that even though what they're doing, I don't agree with their effort of trying to take Ukraine, right? But I feel bad for them because I recognize that these are individuals who really don't have much of a say in what's happening, right? Their country is forcing them out there. They're being pushed into this, right? However, when I view these serial killers that I'm mentioning, these other people who we've decided like have given up a lot of things, even though they're like, again, the people in Ukraine might be doing bad things, there's reasons there. There's separate reasons. These people who are constantly doing these bad things within a society, within a group, and they constantly prey on this group, makes me feel like these people don't get that same sense of empathy. They don't get the same empathy that I'd feel to the Ukrainian soldier, who, even though I disagree with his cause, I recognize like he's just another person in a group trying to do something.
The Russian soldier, you mean, not the
Or,
Ukrainian.
yeah, the
soldier.
Russian soldier, not just the Ukrainian, but like, yeah. I feel that empathy for him. I don't feel it for like the serial killer in America who constantly gets that pleasure off of the same thing that he's doing to like the regular people.
We're not asking you to feel bad when
But
something
you,
bad
you
happens.
are. You're asking me
What I'm
not
asking
to
you
feel
to
that
do-
pleasure. In order for
What
me
I'm
to not
asking you
feel
to do is not celebrate it and feel good about it.
But
No, but
why?
you
What's
can't.
wait, FK, please. Wait, can you just like lay out specifically
Certainly.
what is wrong with me being happy that a serial rapist or serial killer dies?
When you feed into your sadism, right? Like that's kind of Schadenfreude that happens. It makes it impossible. Like, 'cause it encourages you to. It pushes the boundaries. So the more you feed into it, the stronger this sense gets. It will overlap the bounds that you set for it. It's like a fire. Okay, you can hope to only burn the bad shit, but it's gonna become there is a risk of it becoming a raging inferno, going across the bounds of what you have set. And this risk, combined with the fact that there is no real utility in doing this action, means that it is something we should socially discourage.
Okay, so I absolutely 1 billion% disagree with that for many reasons. Number one, I don't think this is sadism, right? I don't think that I'm taking pleasure in like inflicting any harm upon this person. What I described to you was me taking pleasure on this person dying, right? So this person lived a terrible life where they hurt many people. I think it's a positive impact to the world that they're no longer on it. So I'm happy that they're dead, right? That is not me being like, oh God, I'm so glad this person's suffering now. This is just, hey, this person did a bad thing. I'm happy they're no longer around, right? So I don't think that's sadism. First off, I think that's totally reasonable.
Do you
Totally
think it's
reasonable
Schadenfreude?
reaction.
Schadenfreude?
No.
Well,
No, because
by
I think
definition
the
it
issue
is,
here
and-
is I have more empathy. I've more empathy for the world, for society, and for myself than I do for the person that has done these terrible things, right? So you guys are saying, oh well, I have empathy for the fucking serial killer, the serial rapist, right? I'm sad that he's feeling some kind of pain, or I feel bad that he's feeling some kind of pain. But why aren't you feeling happy for the world that no longer has to exist with him in it?
Dude, I feel
like this
No, we
is like
are.
this is a net good to everybody.
No, it is.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with accepting that as part of humanity and being happy about
No,
it.
except
I've got a clarifying question for
I'm
Doobie.
evil. I'm evil. I'm a super
Clarifying
villain.
question, real quick. Doobie, would you take any pleasure at all in the harm that came to them as a like to inflict the death, or
Depends.
just
It
the
depends.
result of the death?
It depends what they did. Right. So for example, if it's just somebody who was in a fight and shot their friend or something because they were like angry at the time, no, sad that happened. Shit happens, whatever. Right? I'm not gonna like feel any kind of pleasure about this person dying or being executed. A bad thing happened, right? But if it's somebody like FK was
Oh,
describing,
Doobie, can I give you one? Actually, can I give you a different one? Robert Hansen, he had 17 victims. What he used to do is he used to go to women, right? Prostitutes. He used to hire them. Then he would fly them out. There was multiple women he did this to, right? But he would basically abuse them on his land. Those that let him abuse them, he would fly back. Those that didn't, he would then like drug them, put them in the wilderness in Alaska, and go out and hunt them as if they were an animal. Police, when they refer to like the bodies they found and everything, they go, literally, we thought that these were people who were just being like shot up by like cartels.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's someone like that, right? Someone who is literally going out of their way to cause harm to other human beings, innocent people, for his own that is actual sadistic pleasure, right? And then yeah, I'm absolutely gonna feel good about him being hurt. If I could push a button to have him be like shocked or something, I'd fucking do it because I think he's a bad person, and I think when bad things
That's
happen
what
to
we're
him,
talking about.
when bad
Okay.
things happen to him, it's good.
Wasn't
Yes,
he? Wait,
this is
wait.
about
Wasn't he?
psychology.
Wait. Wasn't he just
That's what
punishing
we're
the
talking
prostitutes? Hold on,
about.
Doobie.
And
Wasn't he just punishing the prostitutes for like doing a bad thing?
No, stop it.
No. He was punishing. He was taking
Now, if you're gonna
pleasure.
say, hey, from every serial killer, serial rapist perspective, they're the good guy. Okay, sure.
Lactoid, are you gonna
Lactoid.
take
Can
that
I-
forward?
can I-
Do you think what he was doing was more like a better positive than like
You think
the
it was
negative he
as
inflicting on the
valid?
world?
You think it was as
No,
valid a
absolutely
position
not.
or a perspective? as
No,
that?
finish
Then why are you bringing it up?
question?
Can I-
the reason I'm
Can I
bringing it
finish
up,
the point when I made
the
the
reason I'm
question?
bringing it up real quick,
Very-
the
One
reason
at a
I'm
time. One at a time.
the reason
Lactoid.
the reason I'm bringing it up is because like the sadism expressed here, the punishment to prostitutes who are doing a negative thing to society, right? But the feeling of hating them and their hatred of them means that they deserve what they get. That thought process is the exact same thought process that you guys are enacting.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
Absolute
no, it's
bullshit.
not bullshit.
Can I
When did I
propose a
mention this
better?
happening to normal people?
I
Can
It's
I?
never
think
happened.
I'm sorry. Can I
Give us the
propose
better
a
one.
way better example?
Please.
Because this keeps going back to fucking rape and torture, and I'm thinking of things like, for example, Herman Cain dying of COVID after he downplayed COVID on his Twitter and said like masks are not mandatory for this event, and like then he died of fucking COVID. Like I think that that's kind of I'm sorry, I think that that's kind of funny, like because it's like I don't know, it's karma, I guess. I don't even believe in that shit, but like I just
Yeah,
think that
it's funny.
essentially because not the crime, it's not really a crime, I guess, but it's sort of like a punishment fits the crime sort of deal.
It's
Is,
irony.
is,
Well,
is it
right?
funny
Like,
when a fat guy has a heart
well,
attack?
wait,
Is
hold
it
on.
funny when a
Wait, can I,
smoker
can I,
gets
no,
cancer?
please stop. Please, can I just say
Hold
really?
on.
So I think
Yeah.
I think I'd agree with Ice Beans, but it depends on the intention. And so if Herman Cain knew that COVID was actually a serious thing, and he knew that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were potentially going to be dying because he's downplaying this, then yeah, if he got it and he died because of that, that's fucking hilarious, right? I'm glad it happened. But if he genuinely thought that it wasn't a big deal, like many people did, and he was just expressing his true opinion on fucking Twitter or whatever, he actually didn't think this was a big deal, and then he died. No, then I don't think it's okay to take pleasure in that.
That's so fucking based, right?
The
'Cause guess
intent,
what?
the intention matters, obviously.
Doobie, because that intention is them constantly doing those bad things, right? They keep taking away that humanity from themselves because they keep showing you, I am willing to hurt the people around everyone,
is this
including
bullshit?
you.
Wait, no,
What is
please
this
don't go back.
bullshit?
This is
Please don't go
psychotic.
back.
Bullshit.
Stay on the
Not that
stay on the
case.
Herman Cain. Stay on the Herman Cain.
No. So you say Herman Cain, but like you could use this for like an alcoholic who knows drinking is bad and then kills himself in a stupor. You could say this about somebody who knows that overeating
Yeah,
is
if
bad,
they
eats too
know-
much food, gets a heart attack, and dies. I'm not gonna laugh at these people. This is like
These-
actual.
these are-
just like,
hold on, these are
but I
people
think-
harming
but here's
themselves.
something, Lactoid,
Well, and
Lactoid.
and also everybody around them
Lactoid, I'll
too.
watch those YouTube videos of people who are doing these mukbangs, telling these people this is an okay way to live, doing all that dumb shit, and when they die of a heart attack because they're like living a completely unhealthy life and they're trying to like portray that to the world as if it's completely okay, it's kind of like I'll laugh at it because guess what? They're doing something that's already a harm, and they're like putting themselves in a situation where especially if they know how bad it is for them, that's fucked. If they don't know how bad it is for them, like again, that's just a situation where somebody is ignorant to that truth.
Lactoid, I think that
Well-
the difference is that there's a spectrum of like what we would perceive as like accountability for people's actions, right? So for like Herman Cain, this isn't something that's like, oh, you grew up eating like shitty, or you grew up in a poverty environment, so you're just used to like overeating or whatever. Maybe you have like whatever disabilities or whatever. Like this isn't that case. In this case, it's like, well, okay, he kind of bought into the whole anti-COVID stuff, and then he kind of died directly as a result of it.
Yes.
Versus like a person who could be fat for like any number of reasons.
Yes, and
right?
people come to the beliefs that they hold for any number of reasons, right? In the same way that people choose to have unhealthy diets for a number of reasons, people also come to believe. People don't choose their beliefs; they are convinced of beliefs, right? you can't like someone can lie about their beliefs, but if someone truly believes something, it's not like they're choosing. I don't choose to wake up and believe the sun exists. I believe it exists, and you could not convince me otherwise unless you had very solid evidence. So no,
Yeah,
I
but
don't. I
like
don't think.
okay,
I
like
don't think
flat
Herman
earthers
Cain.
and stuff, right? No, okay, like yeah, but I think that the problem, yeah, I mean, yes, anyone can like be convinced into a
Yes.
belief, but it's also one of those things where it's like we as a society have a kind of standard for what like we kind of say, okay, well, if you believe this, you're kind of gullible,
Okay, gang.
or
And
you're
if you
Just
kind of
real
drink
you,
quick.
soda, you're
Just real
gullible
quick.
too.
Intermission, gang. You know what I believe? I believe you should follow my channel if you haven't. I believe that if you're watching this on YouTube, you should like and subscribe. I believe that if you want to see more of these terrible, terrible conversations, you should give me money. You should sub to the channel. You should donate. You should give bits. We're talking about very important issues here, such as morality, ethics, punishment, rehabilitative justice. So if you want to see more of this kind of content, please. I can't do this for free, and I live or die based on your donations. So please consider, if you can, subscribing and things. We're probably only got about 20 minutes left of this, but I want to give people a chance. I want to give the new guy, Addicted to Mosh. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I have a question that matches my accent. Um, just average FK.
Yeah, what's poppin'?
I so you talk a lot about responsibility and about murder and dying,
Mhm.
and in Africa there are a lot of girls that die because they get sepsis or infections from circumcision. So, and
I am
it's a cultural.
anti-circumcision,
Yeah,
female and male.
yeah, but we're not talking if you like it or not. It's you go always around and say, yeah, okay, so what are we gonna do? Gonna we, gonna we, s- will we switch directly to genocide because the culture is,
What?
No, no, we
yeah,
just
but
shift their
why?
culture. We start implementing like we probably go in, we build out infrastructure that they probably
Yeah,
need to like see if we can make any shifts in their culture. Maybe build out schools so we raise their education because it seems like when these countries get more educated, they like start reducing those rates of like these really bad things they're doing. We probably will have to put in a little bit of our media to see if we can maybe like make other shifts there. I'm sorry, like I'm gonna be real. I think some cultures are probably a little bit better than others, and cultures that are doing like female genital mutilation, we might have to step in and try to shift their culture. I'm not saying we genocide these people. I have an understanding that in like cultures like that, these people believe what they're doing is like a good thing, but then it's on us to try to change it. And then if we start implementing these changes, and you have people who still want to stick with that culture, right? You have groups of people who still go out, hunt young women, and start like trying to do that female genital
yeah,
mutilation on
but
them.
murder
Those
is not
people
the
we probably
definition of
punish.
And
genocide.
the shit
No,
cultures.
Hey, let him finish. Let him finish.
cultural
Go ahead. It's you, Addicted to Mosh.
cultural
Your
genocide
turn.
is also categorized at what, for example, China does to you,
I mean,
to
Some
their
cultures need to be
people.
genocided.
some
Some
cultures
cultures
are
are just
really
bad.
bad, bro. I don't know what to say. There's people who, if a
The
culture said
vindictive
that it's okay
cultures.
to have sex with young children, and you're sitting there, would you just tell me
Like
that like no, that
Christianity,
culture is allowed to exist completely, and I will not try to
like
do anything to
like
change that?
The
Yeah,
Bible says that you can fuck
if there are wide swaths of Christians who believe that it's okay to fuck kids, then yeah, then we
Which there
shouldn't allow
are. I think those
Christianity. Yeah,
people in America
like,
need to be removed. Like I think
but
they
but
not
Addicted to
removed,
Mosh, we
not
could also
killed,
point
but
to.
like
So this is my
and
favorite society to bring up in any discussion, right? The Sambian people in Papua New Guinea, right, who have a rite of passage when little boys turn, I think, 7 years old. For 3 or 4 years, they give daily blowjobs to the adult men in the tribe, right? Because they swallow the cum, right? And they believe this needs to happen. They need to have their children give them blowjobs because this is the only way that they become men. And if they don't do this, they'll stay women because they're gonna have all their mother's feminine essence within them. The only way to push it out is to swallow your dad's cum, your brother's cum, your uncle's cum, etc. So this is a real society that exists, right? So I think it's totally fine to say, hey, this is probably a fucked up situation, right? I don't know how the fuck this started, but it needs to stop, and we should look for ways to shift their culture away from this fucked up behavior.
that's why I'm an
And it's
imperialist.
totally fine to say that, unless Addicted to Mosh, you said that their culture, that perspective is as valid as any other. If that's your position, and you're gonna bet bullet that we should just allow people to have kids suck their dick 24/7, then go for it. But that maybe your culture's fucked up too.
yeah, Germany is a fucked up place. That's true.
Okay, so you're not gonna respond to it. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I can respond to that. What you have
Why
to
shouldn't
do.
why shouldn't the child dick sucking culture be genocided?
To clarify, not the people. The people exist.
Yeah, the
You're just
culture.
getting rid of that culture. You don't want these people to continue following those practices, right? You go in through that process that I explained where you try to like implement these shifts by like putting in new schools,
I
raising their education, doing all these other things.
Yeah, so
my
Dick and
approach.
Mosh, why shouldn't the
Yeah,
child dick sucking culture be genocided?
my approach would be to build around that culture, to build like rescue centers and give them
You
the
just allow them
option
to rape kids?
You gotta let him. You gotta let him answer. Give
I mean,
your please.
I mean that's their parents deciding for that, and we generally decide that the parents have the right to decide that kind of
This is
stuff.
where you
Oh
guys are.
no! Oh no!
This is
Okay.
your
That's
people.
the
This is what
issue.
you
Yeah,
guys are like.
I mean,
At your core, you
Jehovah's
guys are the people
Jehovah.
who allow
No,
parents
no,
to rape
no,
their
No,
no.
kids.
Let
Doobie.
me,
This
let
is you.
me
No,
If
this
you
speak.
is
say otherwise, you're
you.
just
While
vindictive.
you're
It's just
No,
your
no,
feces.
no, this is
Yeah,
you,
these
Doobie.
these children and parents are getting
No,
plenty of utility
no,
and sucking
stop,
dick.
No,
stop.
no.
Stop.
All over the
Stop.
world, we allowed Jehovah's Witnesses to refuse blood transfusions to their kids,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
just like
cause
raping
kids
kids
die.
everywhere. I understand.
Yeah, no,
Same
but they
thing.
also do that. They also do the thing where they have like the 2 witness rule, where like you can't bring a pedophile to justice if there were no if there was no other witness to the crime. So that's
Wait,
fucked up too. But we
wait,
let that happen.
Wait,
even
no, stop,
crazier.
But what we're saying is we
Beans,
shouldn't.
Wait, Doobie, wait,
Let me
Doobie,
let me
Beans.
respond to Doobie.
Even crazier. We
No.
should allow people to do female genital mutilation.
No,
We should
we
allow
shouldn't.
Jehovah's Witnesses
No
to
one
let
is
their
at
kids
no.
die on blood
No,
You
transfusions.
No
guys,
one's
But
advocating
you are
here
for
all
that.
you
say
are
we
all
punish
missing the
like
goddamn
pedophiles
point.
and criminals.
No one here
How
is
dare I?
advocating.
Wick,
No one here
Wick,
is
he is
advocating for
advocating
that
for
to
that.
be
Who's
allowed to
advocating
happen.
that?
What
Addicted
we are
just said it. We can't
advocating
go around
for,
it.
what we are advocating for, is you shouldn't take pleasure in
That is true.
stopping people. Right? You shouldn't be
Why
like,
shouldn't
yeah,
I take
I'm
pleasure in
gonna
stopping
punish this
like a
guy.
Wait,
premature
let
child
If
rape?
I'm
Doobie,
stopping
Doobie.
The
Let
really
me
fuck?
bad things, I can be happy
Doobie.
about that. There's a reason.
Means
There's
that
a
are
very
different.
good
You
reason.
cannot.
Okay, hold on,
Let,
hold on,
let,
hold on.
let me specify that. You can have look here, like child murder is still wrong because laws are not tied to cultures and not only tied to special cultures. Like if this dick sucking, if they would move their culture here into another country, there would still be blowjob kids giving blowjobs would still be illegal, so they would still probably all end up in prison. But that's not killing. Their culture will not die from that.
Why shouldn't their
might-
culture be killed?
Or at least that part of their culture.
Tegma
Which means
asked a
their
good
culture as a
question.
whole.
Tegma asked a good question. I wish he'd come on to deal with us, because I want to engage with him directly. You asked, why shouldn't people enjoy their job if it is their job to bring justice to those types of people? Why shouldn't the people who take up that job enjoy it and be good at it? I think they should be good at it. I think the people that our law enforcement system, cops, soldiers, should be good at their job. I want them to be good at their job.
Okay,
But let me
so
ask you this: if a cop
Jesus,
is getting really, if a cop gets off on punishing criminals, I don't want that person as a cop. I think
But
that's
what
a
if that cop is
bad
doing
thing.
a really good
Hold
job?
on.
What if that cop
Wait,
is,
wait.
like, the
I don't
best cop
care.
on the
Wait,
force?
Wick.
What if
you
because
guys
they
are
get off on
deflecting
that-
away from the really bad
Wick,
optics. You guys just tell
no.
you're found yourself in.
Yeah.
Wick. So look at the psychological profiles of like cops and people who get off, like executioners, and people who get off on punishing people.
Yeah, it has led to the abuse
like
of.
Wait, why are
right?
we
No, the
moving off
psychological
culture thing?
profile. The psychological
Because it makes them
profiles-
look bad.
The psychological profiles of these people, like consistently rank them as interested
So
in
do you guys all
authority,
disagree with
interested in
Mosh?
sadism.
What is
So
Yeah, I don't agree
hold on,
with
wait,
Mosh.
okay. To
I don't agree with Mosh.
Mosh's point.
Wait, so why though?
Doobie.
What's the utility?
I'm going to address your point to Mosh that he fumbled a little bit. Okay, more than a little bit.
A
okay?
little bit. Okay.
More than a little bit. Okay, more than a little bit. So I actually agree with you 100%. More like some cultures are much better than other cultures, and some cultures probably
I'm
should be removed.
imperialist.
Some cultures should be. Yes, I'm imperialistic as well. Culture should be removed. But I'm curious. These cultures that should be removed, they tend to be much more vindictive than the civilized, developed cultures that I think we support. And I would argue that the vindictiveness should also be removed, culturally genocided, right? The people who think it's okay to get off on hurting people, that part, just like the dick sucking, should both be culturally genocided.
No, it's okay to hurt
Wait, hold on.
people.
Can
but
I
the
please?
reason... Wait, we've just given that power to the state, right? We've decided as a whole that like it's really bad for people on a very individual level to do it. But if we also decide that we want to give the state the power to be vindictive and hurt people on
No,
behalf of
state
on
actors who
behalf
are
of the
getting
people,
off on punishing people should also be
Can I
removed.
please? Can I please? Please, I'm begging you.
Yeah.
Okay. So if my job was to culturally shift the child dick sucking people away from having kids suck their dick all day, right? If my job is to go in there and say, hey, actually, this is a bad thing. You shouldn't be doing it. Send your kids to school instead, right? If you want your kids to be strong, have them lift weights. Don't have them suck dick. If that was my job, and over time I saw a reduction of dick sucking in that culture, is it okay for me to be proud of that?
I don't think that's his point. I think his point is
I'm asking.
That's
you
not
shouldn't
what
be
is
proud of
called
like
Is it okay for me to be
inflicting
proud of genocide
harm
in the
upon
culture?
people as part of that
Yes.
process, right?
Is it
You can be
okay
happy
for me
with
to
the
be proud?
outcomes
Is it
without
okay for me
not
to be proud
enjoying
of
like, the
genocide in the
harm
culture?
component.
Is it okay for me to be proud of genocide in the culture?
Yes.
But that's not what a genocide is defined as.
Technically, it
What?
is.
You
That
I
is
don't
it.
think that's how he's using it
Dude,
much.
if you just
Under the UN
dude, if
definition,
I
you
don't think
it
he's
is.
saying let's go out and murder all
I
these people.
agree with you that if you just go in and build a school there and teach them that that's not how it works, and so they stop, that's a very good thing. You
What if they
should
don't
do
stop?
that.
What if they say, hey, well, actually, our culture, our religion, our ancestors all say this is a good thing. This is how my father got strong, so I'm just gonna keep having my kids suck my dick.
Jesus
Like you would
Christ.
just never
There's
stop
so
it.
much
So some
fucking
places,
brain rot in
Wait,
here
so
right
some
now.
by the
places.
way,
Hold on,
No
let's
one
just
is
say that
please
saying
stop,
you
stop,
can't be
stop,
happy
stop.
with
Okay, so
outcomes.
falsers,
No one is
falsers,
saying no. I'm not going to stop
falsers.
because you
You're
talk over people all
refusing
the
to
time.
engage
It'll
with
be fine. That's
reality.
fine.
You're pretending.
No
You're
one
pretending
is
that reality
saying
is a
you
ridiculous
can't be happy with
hypothetical.
answering
outcomes.
This is a
questions.
What
real
we're
culture
saying
that
is
exists in the
you
world
shouldn't be
today.
happy with doing harm to people if that is the thing that triggers the outcome.
But hold on,
Those
but
are
the-
two
okay.
different
Honestly,
things. And there's about 50
Also,
people in chat that I've seen that are like, oh, these
Oh
fucking
God,
soy
this is so
boy bleeding
stupid.
heart liberals, they're moral grants. It's not about moral grandstanding. It's
It
about
is actually.
utility.
I'm
It
actually a
is about the
leftist, to be
utility.
fair.
And Doobie,
No,
you
it's not.
asked
Okay,
about the
please. Okay,
utility. And the
stop.
utility is, I'm going to answer you because you've asked 4 times. The utility
Thank
is when you don't promote societies that fixate upon violence and revenge, you stop societal habits that cause
Beautiful.
these things to run rampant.
Yes.
That is the utility. It is about reducing and mitigating harm in the society and in the world. That can be moral, certainly, but we're not talking about the morals right now. We're talking about the usefulness of it. And you don't even
Interesting.
get to get to the moral component if your philosophy isn't useful. And the philosophy that FK and you are proponents for is not useful. It does not
Interesting.
work at a macro scale. And I agree that it is a normal human thing to feel these things, but it's not a normal human thing for me to exact every ounce of retribution on every offender based on my own discretion, because that is variable and
Yeah, that's why the
subjective.
state
And
does
what
it.
I think is appropriate to murder someone for is going to be different than someone else. And that's
Oh
why we
shit.
have these standards and need to abide by them.
So hold
Yes,
on,
we can move those
can I respond
standards.
to that, please?
the
Can I please
state is
respond to
just
that?
a
Can I
leviathan.
please
It's
respond
just
to
a
that?
lot
I'm
of
begging you.
people.
What's up, Doobie?
Please. Okay, so falsers.
Yeah, go ahead.
So thank you for that answer, because now I'm curious. It's like what you think the utility of going to a culture where their understanding of sex, of maybe they don't even consider this sex, right? This is literally them extracting masculinity from the parents, from the adults in the tribe, and ingesting it into their young boy bodies, right? So this isn't, they're not being raped, they're not being molested. This is actually a good thing that's happening to them. This is actually a good thing that they're doing to their children. What is the utility of you coming in with your perspectives, your cultural understanding of that interaction, and saying, hey, actually, in my culture, this is child molestation, and you guys are all victimizing your children, right? So, and what is the utility there? Why should you do that?
Utility is
Why
a
should
bit of
you
an
do that if
option.
these people are
I
not
love
being
that.
harmed? Actually, if these people are not being harmed actually, because they don't understand this to be harm.
I'm happy to answer. The utility in this specific case is there are optics beyond them. By the way, the case is ridiculous, but if you're saying that somehow these people
It's reality.
Hold on.
It exists.
Let's say these
This
people
is a
are
thing that
you're
happens.
saying they're somehow benefiting within their own culture from the pedophilia.
They do.
I don't. Okay.
It's not
I don't agree
pedophilia.
with that,
No,
but
you're
hey,
misunderstanding again.
I'm going to
You're
grant it to you.
misunderstanding.
I'm going to
No,
grant
it's,
it.
It's
wait,
like a
wait, stop.
religious practice.
Listen.
Doobie,
It's not.
call
There's
his
no
stuff.
utility in
You're
that.
not
Somebody's gonna
you're
finish your goddamn
misunderstanding.
sentence.
Yeah,
There
because
is
you're
a utility.
misunderstanding.
Wait,
Please.
Doobie, let me explain.
Enough!
There is
Stop!
a utility.
Stop, everyone. Okay, so Doobie, clarify quickly, and then falsers go with that clarification.
Okay,
please.
because it is not pedophilia. It is not child molestation. It's not even sex. What it is to them is a rite of passage where young boys are ingesting the masculine essence of the older men in the tribe to become stronger. They don't consider it to be a sexual act. It is literally a religious rite that they do every day for like 3 or 4 years. Right? So you coming in and reframing that religious rite as child molestation, as pedophilia, as rape, etc., right, in a negative way, you're actually doing the harm in that situation because they don't see themselves as molested. They don't see themselves as child rapists. They see themselves as people who are helping their sons grow big and strong. Right? So you coming in and reframing it that way is you're doing the harm there. So what is the utility in coming in, reframing them with your Western understanding of that interaction, and teaching them that they've been victimized, that they're child rapists? Why should you do that?
I'm happy to answer now. I'd love to finish it. First, I think the framing of how you've put the question is crazy because you're asking me, right? So by virtue of you having me give an answer, it's going to be through my lens and my perspective, right? So when we talk about, okay, they don't think it's pedophilia, that's fine. I do in this case. But the harm that I'm talking about doesn't have to be specific to them. So when you say, what's the use in going in and correcting that behavior through my frame, the use is there is an optical component behind it. And if we signal to the rest of the world that pedophilia is okay as long as it's just contained within your culture, what is to stop people from setting up Epstein Islands and just saying, this is my culture and we're all benefiting, right? There is so much harm that could come from that. So we do have to have some clear-cut standards that we abide by. And I would say islands full of pedophilia is a pretty easy example to get to a clear-cut standard on. And I want to point out once again that the philosophy that UNFK hold, you only give these crazy fucking examples of like islands of pedophiles to support it. It doesn't work in the real world.
What I
Okay,
just
real
told you
quick.
is the real world, that these people exist in the real world. I don't know
Okay,
why you're
so the
pretending it's
answer
Real quick,
also
but
to your
the but
question,
the
just Ice Beans, you can go next, but the answer to your question is, Doobie, is just because someone doesn't realize they're being harmed or doesn't think they're being harmed does not necessarily they're not being harmed. It's very possible, like, the fact that they don't think it's pedophilia doesn't change the fact that it very much is.
Is it okay to
The
tell trans
objective
people they can't
reality is a thing
transition?
that exists. And,
That's
So
and,
okay.
just not true.
again, I think stopping it is good and people should be happy that it stops. But when you get happy that you are punishing these people, that is the difference. And that's where it becomes not okay, because just like when allowing that to happen, as Falsers here so beautifully pointed out, it's an optical thing. Allowing this thing to happen leads to it happening more. Allowing us to take pleasure at revenge means it's going to happen more, and it's going to lead to barbarism and sadism. But Aspens, please go ahead.
I was just going to bring out like another example that kind of speaks to essentially False's idea of like why we stop this. It's like the the Hindu practice of like self-immolation of widows. I think it's called like sati or something, where like they might have like a strong basis of why they have that cultural practice, but allowing that cultural practice to remain is harmful because it can inspire, it can inspire widows to like unwillingly go to their deaths, right? Like I think that's why you'd want to stop it. I guess I don't know.
I agree.
It's a lot less
Point of
memey.
clarity.
It's a lot less memey than the little boys eating cum.
Yeah, I mean, point of clarity real quick. When I say the real world, I don't mean these things aren't real and aren't happening in places, and they don't happen. That's not what I mean. What I mean is 99.9999% of situations when we want to apply a philosophy or a moral system, we need these things to work. And if your moral code only works on fringe examples, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think
Well,
your
it sounds
entire
like you guys are.
I
want to.
think your entire
Oh.
argument hinges on this weird, like a slippery slope fallacy, right? That hey, if we allow these people to continue their cultural tradition of having young boys suck dick, right, the entire world is going to end up sucking dick, or more people in the world are going to end up having their
No,
kids suck dick.
that's not the entire.
This
That's
is
one
this is
component.
okay. Even if like you're saying like this is going to like spread out, right, from this little tribe that's been doing it for 1,000 years, it's going to spread out, and other people are going to have their children suck their dicks to like ingest masculinity. This is just a stupid slippery slope fallacy, and I don't think it makes any sense in any other case, right? And I think what you're actually doing here is trying to find some way to justify the harm that you're actually doing to them when you come in and you impose your cultural, your subjective cultural understanding of harm, of this child molestation, quote unquote, when you impose it upon them, you're doing the harm. So if your whole
You don't think
philosophy,
pedophiles look for examples of where pedophilia
if
is
your whole
accepted to point to
philosophy,
their own deranged moral
these
compass?
people are not
These aren't
pedophiles.
pedophiles.
These people are not
These are
pedophiles.
literally falsers. This is the equivalent. There's been like studies on this, right? It's
Okay,
the
hold
idea
on.
of how abuse.
The boys,
Wait.
the
It's
boys,
the idea of
young
how
men's
abuse and
fucking
content. Wait.
grown
I gotta
men's
be
lakes
real
are
with
not
you,
pedophiles? Are
FK.
the
They're
grown men not
pedophiles. They're pedophiles.
No, they're not.
If
Pedophiles.
children are
Literally
sucking
are-
their
They're
dick,
literally not.
it's pedophilic.
Just
in
because a
nature.
rapist doesn't see himself as a rapist doesn't
Motherfuckers,
mean he
listen
didn't
for a
rape a
second.
woman,
There's been
right?
studies on how the psychology behind this works, right? It's this whole, like the whole context completely changes the situation. When this thing happens in a very ritualistic setting, you could probably study these kids and look at them compared to like Western kids who have been abused by adults, right? By pedophiles, and look at how their brain works differently. Because these people,
Bro,
these
I'm
kids
sure the
don't-
BTK killer felt some
Wait,
catharsis when he
Jesus
killed
Christ,
someone
can you
too.
hear
That
this?
doesn't justify it.
No, I'm not saying
He's
it's
still a
justified.
murderer.
I'm literally pro-cultural genocide. I said I'm down to go into these countries and like completely change their cultures away.
You're also
But what
pro
you're not
debate lord and
accepting-
you're advocating for pedophilia.
No, you're just not accepting what
not
you're really
advocating for
asking for.
pedophilia.
These aren't pedophiles. These are people who literally have a whole culture built on this idea of rituals. These are rituals that they practice for thousands of years because these people have been taught into this idea that this is just a ritualistic action. They don't do this any other time. It's not like this culture is going to do this for fun outside of that
It's even
ritualistic
worse
setting. In that setting, they do it as a ritual. I don't like it. I think it's a disgusting ritual. I think it needs to be dealt with. I think it needs to be removed from that group.
Is it
But that's it.
pedophilic?
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, but
no,
hold on.
it's
But wait,
pedophilic
please.
from a
The
Western
reality is,
perspective, but
Is
you
it
have to
you're
pedophilic
lying
to
to
you?
what
yourself.
you have to
Is it
accept
pedophilic
is
to
what
you?
you guys are doing. What you guys are doing is you're being like, my morals are better than their morals, so I am coming in with my morals to clear out theirs.
Jesus Christ, that's
And you
what
have to
we all
acknowledge,
do. Everyone
and you have to
can live
acknowledge,
by
and you
their
have to
own moral
acknowledge that
code,
when you
otherwise we
do
wouldn't
that,
have
when you
laws.
do that, you're increasing the harm done to them. You're increasing the harm in the world because they do not feel harm done to them. Right? This is just a thing that they've been doing for thousands of years. You are harming them by telling them that they're pedophiles, telling the children that they've been molested. Right. So if you're willing to increase the harm done to these people, right, then I think that your whole
You were
system
just
falls
advocating
apart.
for their
Wait,
cultural
they
genocide.
actually are
Because
harmed, by
wait,
the way.
hold
now
on,
and
no,
then.
falsers. The issue
Blackhood.
here, the issue here isn't that I'm not saying that their culture shouldn't be genocided. I agree that it should be genocided. What I'm saying is I accept that doing that is going to cause harm to them, and I think it's a good thing. I think harm should be done to them.
Literally what I've been saying.
Yeah,
But
and
it
you're
doesn't-
saying actually
Again,
no,
the whole point
there's
of the
no harm
panel
done.
is
That's
we can
not the
agree that sometimes it's
disagreement.
okay to do harm, and we should do harm,
Well,
but we
this is why
shouldn't
I asked you.
celebrate doing the harm.
Right.
That's the whole
This is
point
why
of
I asked
this
you, Wick.
discussion. That is where
This is
we're
why I asked you earlier.
getting this difference here. Is we don't think that no one disagrees that sometimes we need to do harm to different groups or people or
Well, I
individuals.
think I disagree with
It's
that.
the disagreement becomes. Should we be happy and
Okay, so
celebrate
Wick,
and think that's the best thing in the world?
this is why I
Obviously
asked you,
not.
Wick. Wick, this is why I asked you. If my job is to reduce the child dick sucking in that culture, and I do a good job and it's reduced, should I feel proud about that?
We've answered that.
Yes.
We've
you should
answered
feel
it. Yeah,
proud
be
of
Then
happy
why
with the
then why
outcome.
is
You
you
should
giving
not
me?
You
feel
can be proud about
happy
the
that you
outcome.
had
If you
to
guys
do
can please,
it.
Wick, if you just accepted that doing
Jesus
so
Christ is my
would be
Lord and
is
Savior. I don't know what you
Wick,
want me to
no,
accept
Wick,
here. I'm not
if
going
you
to
just
be.
accepted that me coming in, reframing their cultural practice as harm, as child molestation, etc., is doing some kind of harm to them. But me being proud of that, me being proud of showing this to be some kind of harm that they need to stop doing, right? And showing that hey, actually in the past you guys have been molesting your children and whatnot. I'm doing harm to them and I'm proud of it. And you just told me that was a good
The
thing.
outcome is different than the harm itself. They are different. We are talking about.
You
different
just told
things.
me that I should
No,
feel
you
proud
can
about
be
causing harm
happy
to
with
these
the
people.
outcome
No.
and not be excited about the fact that these people are now going to have to work through some things that they're going to have to learn to accept. Right? No one's excited about them having to like go through the pain of that. Right? Do
No
they
one.
deserve it? That's a different question. But
It's
we're
not
talking about the
just
celebration of the harm,
right, exactly.
not the
And by the
outcome.
way,
We are
just
gonna
This
let
is you
I'm
guys
gonna
are
let
totally
Lactoid go
okay.
just real quick.
Jesus
I'm gonna let
Christ.
Lactoid go, and then gang, I am tired. So unless we get a lot of donations, I'm talking a lot, like 10. I'm gonna end this.
Cringe.
So I actually, I mean, I agree with Falsters here that there is there are kind of broader things at play that I think could justify moving in. I also think that there are obviously like health risks to the children. There are other things that we can take a look at as well that make this unjustified. It's not just, I looked into it actually just now. It's not just, that's not the only thing they do, by the way. They actually will bring the kids in, like they remove the kids from their parents and they all go to like a separate cult and they beat the shit out of the kids for like a long
Yeah.
time until like they bled out all the blood that's in them, is what they think.
It's a ritual.
Yeah, and so like they beat them up, and then they start doing what Doobie said, and then whoever can drink the most is the most manliest. It's definitely like kind of a bizarre situation.
Yeah, in other
Yeah.
cultures, they put their hands into the gloves of bullet ants. Like,
Yeah.
people
Right,
are
right,
Strangers, they
right,
jump
and
off
I'm
of
fully
buildings
yes,
with
and
like
I'm
strings.
yes, and I'm fully in favor of especially for children who can't consent, to prevent people from doing activities to them which not only
To harm
can
them.
not only directly lead to harm, but also lead to a risk of harm, and
By harming them, right?
harming them or leading to like a risk of harm.
Let me provide an
No,
analogy.
but
Let
you're
me provide an
preventing them
analogy
by
that I
harming
think will
them.
illustrate it here.
No one's
So
going to
I don't think
provide
it
any
harms the
analogies
children.
because I'm done with this conversation. I hate it. I hate all of
It's
you.
pretty fucked up.
Thanks, I hate it.
Love you
It
too.
was
I'll leave Nick.
interesting
You
to a
guys just
point.
want to
It's good
accept what
fun.
really what you feel inside. You guys want to lie to yourselves. That's what it feels like.
No, I think that just because I feel something doesn't mean that feeling is good. Just doesn't
This
mean
is
I should give
literal
into it.
cuckery.
Because I
Right.
feel, because I get a hard on when I see a lady, doesn't mean I should act on that feeling, right?
Nobody's
Like it doesn't
suggesting
mean I
that.
should
Because
do
if you
anything
act
about
on
it,
it, we should be
right?
allowed to act on you,
Because
right?
I feel something doesn't give me
You're dehumanizing
justification
yourself.
to act on that thing, and we
Like,
need
you're
to stop that.
dehumanizing yourself
We're
by
gonna rate
comparing
out.
yourself to serial killers and rapists.
We're
Like,
gonna rate out.
True.
you're not the kind
We're
of
gonna
person
rate
we're
out.
talking about.
We're
I'm
gonna rate
just
out.
glad you all told
love
me
you,
that
Wick.
Hitler was justified because he thought the Jews were killing kids.
Well, what dictated these people are saying that Hitler shouldn't be punished if he was older when he was
I
caught.
hate
Never
this. I'm gonna rate out
That's
to
fine.
double
I
check
enjoyed it.
You can't say
I
that in
enjoyed
that
it.
accent. I'm sorry.
Fun discussion. Y'all have a good
Okay,
night.
gang, remember
Good night, guys.
tomorrow. You think this was bad? Oh, you think this was a bad? This went off the rails. Tune in tomorrow. We got Mind Waves. We got Irrelevant. We got Pixie. We got Kelly Jean. We got not Eli Monty. And there's one more Erudite. And we're gonna be talking about women saying no and consent.
Cringe.
So you think this
Oh,
was
you-
cancer? You
Oh,
think this was
no.
bad, gang? You think this was bad? Oh God, tune in tomorrow.
Did you just say cringe to women
Take
saying
pleasure
no?
in your pain.
Yeah,
Wick.
consent episode number 10,000 because most of you guys are fucking autistic.
Hey, maximize consent. Look
Bro,
at my profile
half
picture.
of the consent
Okay.
discussions just feel like it's not that hard. I don't know. Am I like stupid? But like going through these conversations, like going through the
It's
situation
because the
isn't
audience
that
is
hard. I
autistic,
feel like you
that's the
just gotta
issue.
read people, or like you gotta. If you don't know how to read somebody, stop getting into
Impossible.
relationships, bro. Stop dating. If you can't like read, if you can't like know what somebody likes and doesn't like without having to ask them directly, like, is this good? Is this bad? Stop dating people and go get friends and like learn how to read your friends.
True, actually.
Okay. Thank you for all
Yeah,
for
autists
participating
can
in this.
do that, so autists die alone.
I'm
Fine.
sorry, Wick. I'm so sorry. But it was fun though.
It was
That was
fun.
fun, guys.
But
This
it
was
was fun in
fun,
the
and
way that I
also
hate it.
I've lost quite a
Balsers.
few brain cells.
All right, everybody. This has been a something of an adventure. I apologize for the new raiders. Thank you for swinging by. And we're actually going to be raiding out again into somebody else, so stay tuned, and we'll raid on out. For those of you who want to stick around, or I guess stick around going forward, thank you so much. Just go ahead and drop me a follow, and then you can see whenever I come online. And yeah, thank you for sticking around for the shit show. I think we got our points across pretty well. I think we, and I think what a lot of the arguments I was making was intuitive. Yeah, 205. We're already at 205. We broke 200 on Monday. I am so excited, and I couldn't have done it without all of you, and I can't do it without all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for everybody who has given me a follow. Thank you to everyone who will give me a follow. And yeah, I really and also a big one. Thank you for and also thank you for the bits and subs, and most of all, thank you all for being active in the chat and talking and giving me shit and giving other people shit, like just right there, right? That's the kind of shit I want to see in this chat. Okay, now you can be toxic towards me, just don't be toxic towards anybody else, please. I believe in freedom of speech, but you know, advise or request that we all be nice to each other, because hey, again, niceness is good. We don't want to be vindictive. We don't want to be, angry all the time. It's not a good state to be in. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and raid out into Not So Erudite. And I hope you all enjoy your stream. For more stuff coming in the future, obviously panels, debates, I'm thinking we're definitely pretty soon going to be doing another debate crate, which is basically my debate show where I'm going to be sorry, I'm going to be hosting one. Thank you so much, Machine Soft Engineer. I appreciate it. But we're going to be doing my debate show, and I'm thinking about bringing on some good people. We'll be posting that stuff about that in Twitter. And then I'm also thinking perhaps this weekend we might do a bit of a relaxing video game stream. I don't often do those, but I did get asked if I play games, and we might give that a shot and just see if people want to just chill out and talk. Obviously, I'm gonna have to include some kind of political content on it because that's what you guys want. I don't want to sit there and just play a game. So I'll try to figure out a way to do that where I can add political content on with maybe some kind of on-screen content as well. I'll think of a way to do that, but that's something I'm considering as well. So anyway, sorry for all that. We're gonna go ahead and raid out, and thank you all again.
Awful. I'd be mad too, and I don't really have an interest in telling people that they don't get to have feelings.
Yeah, I think it's like a totally human reaction.
Yeah.
Obviously, like when you get fucked over by someone like this, it's kind of like a catalyst for you to like